The hosts of the Swine Brothers show are not role models. They're not even human. They're complete monsters. The Swine Brothers show is dumb, crude, thoughtless, ugly, sexist, self-destructive, foolish, and a crime against humanity. Some of the things they do would cause a person to get hurt, expelled, arrested, possibly deported. The fact they blatantly ripped this off from another source should be an indicator of their shameless depravity. This extreme in bad taste will offend anyone with a working brain, so listener discretion is advised. If you're still here, welcome to the sewer of the internet.
Holy motherfucking shit, I got an erection for a Christmas miracle! Yeehaw!
Welcome to Swine Brothers episode 204. It's the Christmas special, apparently.
Apparently it is.
You can get in touch with us if you want to leave questions or comments or send us stuff to, talk about at Cosmicgodsdie@gmail.com. Facebook is at SwineBro666, and Twitter is also at SwineBro666. You can also leave a comment on the YouTube video if you want to, which you should, because
I mandate it because we need to get things going, and we also like the likes. But the most important thing is to share this fucking shit, because you know damn well we ain't going to get promoted by any system, any at all. Even if I fucking paid for the damn Twitter thing, we're not getting promoted there. We'll be declared instantaneous. Everything hates us. The right hates us. The left hates us. Centrists hate us. It's great.
And I am your host, Elliot Lindemood, and that other thing.
I am the Jim.
Who needs to screen share?
I need to screen share, don't I? Huh?
Yeah, I didn't hear the intro at all.
Oh, yeah, I probably did something there,
That'd help. It's funny, but before we begin, Twitter is showing how much your tweet has been viewed now, which, it's sort of like YouTube views. I mean, I don't care how much it's been viewed. I'd rather have what the hell's the word?
Interaction?
Interaction, thank you. Sorry, I drank a lot last night.
Yes, I prefer bullshitting with people, too.
Yeah, I'd rather have interaction than just, you have 100 views. Great, and no comments.
Yeah, and I hate those comments that are like, first, say something. Start a conversation.
Say
It's
something.
easy. You can't even call us dickless. That's better than, first.
Dickless.
Or hi, fellow commenters. Dickless. There, that's something I can go on.
You have no dick.
We have no dicks.
So it's the Christmas special, and it's the last episode in my house. I'm moving to a new place in a couple days. All but one of these 204 episodes has been done at this house in this very room.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to send this house off? Are we going to? Well, we can't blow it up because we're going to sell it. So.
Well, we got these people out there saying that they want historically accurate D&D campaigns. I was thinking, well, why the hell don't we react to some historians and people that research this shit, go over real history to see how they would measure up to our style of D&D campaign?
Real history. So it's reaction videos.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And this first one is from a guy named Blue Jay, and it is entitled The Dumbest Russian Voyage Nobody Talks About.
Ooh.
There are an abundance of iconic combinations out there, like spaghetti and meatballs, a sorority girl in a white Jeep, or depression and alcoholism. But like US presidents and convertibles, not everything can be a match made in heaven. And
Oh yeah, we thank you, Kennedy, for teaching us that.
we're 2 seconds into it, and there's an assassination joke. I already love it.
Mm-hmm.
as much as Mother Russia would love to dominate the high seas, nearly landlocked nations and stellar navies don't exactly go hand in hand. But for all the Russian Navy's dismal, underwhelming, pathetic lack of glory in the early 20th century, it's always important to look on the bright side. Like how it gives me good YouTube content. So on today's...
That's
okay.
good.
All
That's
right. let us start down the journey now of having a historically accurate D&D campaign.
Okay.
Today's episode, I'm going to learn you all about the misadventures of the Russian Baltic Fleet.
Bum, bum, bum.
History. Learn things.
It's the turn of the 20th century, and what better way to kick off a new era than
expansion?
Russia is cold, which is great for things like stopping Nazis and badass TikToks, but not ideal for ports. Having your port turn to ice every winter is what those of us more versed in nautical terms would call not very cash money.
Nope. That would pretty much suck. You know, it puts everything to a standstill that requires the sea.
Yeah, pretty much. Although it would be great if you built like a snowmobile fleet. Badass
fleet
people.
of snowmobiles, but then you start drowning the moment you hit the actual ocean.
See, this is why I'm not in charge of the military.
Oh, God.
The Russian Empire notices China has a pretty nifty port with, get this, warm water. However, there's this pesky little thing called a border in the way. But that's okay. China isn't European. It's not a real country. So
China doesn't exist. Oh God, we're gonna get banned for that one.
That's great. You just gotta love it whenever an entire nation doesn't exist.
Well, Canada also doesn't exist. You can't convince me Canada's a real place.
Look, we're just going to invade it one of these days. We've been promising to do that for ages, but our damn alliance with the UK has kind of like put that on hold.
Hey, we did it in 1812.
Well,
Nobody
we tried it.
Nobody remembers that in America, but in Canada, it's the day that it's the year that the U.S. tried to take over. Nobody remembers that about the War of 1812. Which is a really interesting war, and it's kind of the forgotten war. I know we're off topic, but still.
I don't know. I paid more attention to how we gained Washington.
I love history.
The Oregon Trail, and
Yeah, that's well. I think the whole Old West. I mean, I was born in California, so we did a lot of the history of like the West.
George Washington Carver or something.
And
then he got pissed off because the damn fucking what's it called? Oregon lash laws, kept them from getting land there. So we went up north, and that added to our claims. So we got the area. Then we fought over an island, an archipelago or something. Just some small shitty islands, trying to figure out where the actual line came down.
I mean,
and like through the entire War of the Pig, only one pig died. No one else did because cooler heads prevailed while everyone else was screaming, "Blood for blood, God!"
Yes, and also I have to say the Brits actually managed to burn down the White House. So
Mm-hmm. Well, that's always a fun time.
Yeah.
They couldn't do. Well, it wasn't even built then, but still, it's nice they got their revenge a little bit. Then we got ours, saving their asses.
We got
two wars we had to save their ass. Well, maybe not the first one. We didn't have to, but we certainly helped.
Well, we also got ours because we send over horrible comedies that they have to watch.
Oh yeah.
All the horrible American comedies that the Brits have to watch.
Oh,
suffer, you fools!
Suffer. We're gonna take your Monty Python, the good shit, and give you our crap like I don't know.
Yeah.
Big Bang Theory? Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, you get to watch the Big Bang Theory.
Let's continue.
Eat my ass, European. Okay, anyway, let's continue.
So Russia takes control and gets the Qing to lease in the port. Japan doesn't like what they see, so they meet with Russia and are all like, "Hey, vodka boy, invading China is our thing." But Russia won't.
You gotta love it when a nation's just like, "Hey, invading that country is our thing, not yours. Go away. We're invading it."
Well, that's why America, helped help Britain, because invading countries and bombing brown people, that's our job.
Exactly.
Share, leaving diplomacy dead in the water. But that's okay. The new DLC just dropped and everyone's just itching to try out their new toys. So the Japanese attack Port Arthur, kicking off the Russo-Japanese War. Fast forward a few battles and the Russians are losing pretty badly. So the Tsar authorizes quite the preposterous proposal of sending the Russian Baltic Fleet to reinforce the East. And you may be wondering, but Blue Jay, what's so preposterous about sending reinforcements? Well, kiddo, the Baltic part of Russian Baltic Fleet means it operates in, get this, the Baltic. And as we
And for people that fail geography, it is on the extreme left-hand side of Russia. It has to circumvent the entire continent pretty much to get to the right side of Russia, which is where the fucking Japan is.
And for those who failed English, the word Jim's looking for is circumnavigate, not circumvent.
Well, yeah, but they don't have to totally shut up.
We learned earlier, boats don't like ice, so you can't go this way to Port Arthur, meaning the Tsar authorized a plan for an 18,000-mile journey around the world, which is 29,000 kilometers, or 1,140,480,000 gumballs. The voyage was also a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, measuring it in gumballs. That just reminds me of every time that we fucking sit here and scream about feet versus meters.
Everything should be measured in gumballs.
Yeah, that'll just annihilate the debate there. Empiric versus metric? Fuck you, we're measuring in gumballs now. Weights are gumballs now. Everything is gumballs. Mass is gumball.
He's leading by 2 million gumballs.
Yeah.
As the Russians didn't have any holdings in Africa or South Asia to refuel along the way. Add that to the fact that the fleet spent months at a time frozen in port, so the crew of mostly uneducated peasants couldn't tell you the difference between a bowline knot and a porcelain pot. This group of inexperienced conscripts was put under the command of Admiral Rozhetsvensky, a man so prone to anger that his staff made sure to keep a large supply of binoculars at the ready due to how often he would throw them overboard. But hey, fuck it.
That's my kind of guy.
More binoculars.
Get another one.
We're all fucked.
What better way to learn than a trial by fire, right? So they set sail on their epic quest to turn the tide of the war and bring glory to the motherland. And immediately, the flagship runs aground and a cruiser loses its anchor. While they waited for the flagship to refloat, a destroyer forgot friendly fire was on and rammed into a battleship, prompting it to return for repairs. Don't worry,
That's like the start of every D&D campaign. Yeah, I'm the main character. Blah! Oh, fuck. Run back. Retreat. We're dying. Oh my god. The cleric's unconscious. What do we do?
That's pretty much how every campaign I've ever done starts. Or either that or I set myself on fire trying to impress a chick.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much, running the ship aground there.
I'm gonna set the statue on fire.
Natural one. I'm on fire! Fail reflex.
Rather than stop dropping and rolling and ripping off my clothes.
Yeah. So you're just wearing your armor. Dangly parts dangling. And that's how you look when you return to town. Just wearing armor with your dangly parts dangling.
Hey, but it was for a good cause, though.
Yes, to impress a chick who was not impressed.
Well, apparently she was, because she fell in love with them.
Yeah. How much that was a retcon, though.
Oh my god, yeah.
Anyways, continuing.
Men, surely this can't be foreshadowing. As the fleet pushed on, a growing hysteria spread amongst the crew. They were afraid that at any second they'd be ambushed by Japanese torpedo boats. By Denmark. This is where the war is, if you forgot. But the crewmen...
Yes, Denmark is a nation far to the left. Or shall we say west. Japan is on the complete opposite side of the continental landmass.
But yeah.
So obviously they got U-boats right there on a section of the world they aren't even attempting to stake any claim to.
Yeah, but people are they're so freaked out. They're like, oh my god, that's the lack of training is awesome.
I know, it's awesome. That's also like fucking when it takes you like 2 sessions to leave the starting tavern because you have to check everything for traps.
Yep. Whereas I just kind of left.
Yeah.
Didn't have time to worry about things as frivolous as logic, so when two fishermen approached the fleet to deliver a message, they opened fire. The two fishermen survived the false alarm without a scratch thanks to the horrible standards of the Russian gunnery. As for their message, they informed Rear Admiral Rozhetsvensky that he had been promoted to Vice Admiral.
So that's the first non-violent random encounter they encountered, and they tried to turn it violent. If it weren't for the fact that they kept nat wanting all their fucking hits, the boat bearing good news. Mind you, it was good news. They would have sunk good news.
So the good news is you've been promoted to Vice Admiral. The bad news is because of that you've been demoted back to Rear Admiral.
Yeah.
Iron this. This wouldn't be the only false alarm, as later another ship signaled that she was under attack by 8 Japanese torpedo boats, only to find out that there were 0 Japanese torpedo boats.
Well, that's not wanting your fucking perceptions check. The enemy is everywhere. It's surrounding me.
I'm just imagining the fear on that boat. Like, you can tell these guys didn't want to actually be there and didn't know what they were doing.
They were terrified every inch of the way.
Yeah.
There was just nothing there. Having survived the Baltic, our heroes made their way towards Britain, where they encountered a small group of fishing trawlers at Dogger Bank. But surely by now our skittish sailors have learned their lesson. Ninjas! Streliete pushik! Chaos ensued as the Russians laid down hellfire upon the unsuspecting fishermen. The Russians are going bonkers. Some run around the deck aimlessly waving cutlasses to repel imaginary boarding parties, while others just cuddle up on the deck with life jackets, accepting their demise.
Those two bits are actually written in the history books, that they ran around with cutlasses on deck, and others just curled up in the fetal position, wearing lally vests, saying we're going to die here. And yet again, this was yet another non-violent random encounter. That they just said, no, it's the enemy. They're lying. Boom, 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 boom.
I don't even know if they waited for them to say anything. Just, oh my god, it's the enemy.
Yep.
Keep it up, men. These Japanese have horrendous aim, Igor. We haven't even taken a hit. But hey, at least this time we made sure they weren't fishermen first.
Yeah.
We're shooting at fishermen, aren't we? Definitely a possibility, sir. Well, at least we didn't fire on our own ships, killing a sailor and Russian Orthodox priest. The British trawler.
Yeah, that's happened, you know. You just whip out your bow, start firing into the middle of melee, not realizing that you're not good enough with the bow to make certain that that miss doesn't accidentally hit your fucking allies.
The Brits like to joke that America is the nation of friendly fire. But I just like to, if you're a Brit, if you're a British person and you're watching this, we're not the only one who believes in friendly fire. Apparently, the Russians take this shit seriously.
like those ships weren't even at the non-violent ships they were attacking for no reason. So they hit their own ship.
and besides, British. We've seen your history, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fleet were sitting ducks as their nets in the water prevented a hasty escape, and the Russians fired at them for 20 minutes before realizing their mistake. While this sounds like the setup for a massacre, you forget our heroes are about as effective as a guy holding a fish on Tinder, sinking only 1 trawler and damaging 2 of their own ships. The battleship Oriole.
Yeah, well, you just damage your own ship. How?
This is why you don't give the military vodka?
Oh, come on. If it's not vodka fuel, they ain't doing the killing right. Come on, slip some more vodka on board.
Okay, maybe you do. Maybe they were doing, maybe before maybe every night they did your party trick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now it's time to beer bong the vodka.
Half gallon down in 3 seconds.
The enemies are coming.
Oh my god! Boom! Wait, did we just kill the cleric? We killed the cleric. Oh fuck.
really captured the spirit of a TikTok pickup artist, reportedly shooting 500 shots without scoring a single hit. 2 fishermen and 2 Russians died in the mayhem, so at least the survivors can brag at the local pub that they tied with the Russian Navy. This event became known as the Dogger Bank incident and nearly ignited a war between Russia and Britain. The Brits just...
So you just started an international incident.
These guys are worse than our friend Justin in Call of Duty.
Oh my God.
He sucks at first person shooters, and yes, he probably is watching this. And if you are watching this, hi. He sucks at first person shooters, and he can't get a kill to save his life.
You see, I used to kick ass at fucking James Bond GoldenEye, but I suck at first person shooters. How I did it was, when I went into multiplayer mode, I used the game mechanics against people. You see, what would happen is, I'd select either rocket launchers or grenade launchers. And then I'd lure everyone into a tight enclosed space and detonate the grenade launcher at my feet. This would cause an explosion that took everyone to hell with me. I would get +3 kills for killing all 3 other players, -1 for the suicide. So every time I did this, I would net myself a +2 kills. I'd be most deadly, most suicidal.
And how did your friends react to this?
God damn it, Jim! Why you? Hey, I'm winning.
Did they ever try to like?
Oh
God! I know what he's doing. Oh God! I know what he's doing.
No. The best part was whenever we had someone that was actually really good at it at the versus deathmatch, but also was a real prick about it.
Yeah.
So then my friends were like, "Hey, let's let Jim play." And then that guy threw the controller, stampeded out of my house. Because, like, you don't play the game like that. I'm winning. What does it matter?
That reminds me of the time my friend, he was good at racing games, but he also liked to, crash. And so he was playing against someone who was, like a local, like, very good at stuff like that. He used the mechanics. I think he went from 10th to 1st just by plowing through the entire field, and one wins the race with his car on fire.
Oh,
Meanwhile, the other, you can't play it like that. And I was like, well, I mean, just imagine the destruction behind him as he's crossing the finish line with his car on fire.
Now, the one F1 game I had, it gave you invincibility if you had, like, the easy mode on. So, but the other cars weren't invincible. So what I'd do is I'd start a race, immediately do a 180 and start driving backwards and smack into the first out of a line of like 29 other cars.
Yeah.
Taking them all out.
Yeah.
But then, at the yellow flag, you could only go as fast. You had to go 30 miles and only go as fast as the lead car was.
Yes.
And since I was in last place the whole time, I would have to drive in reverse. So I was going, as fast as the car was. Because, that's technically negative miles per hour driving in reverse. So that was slower than the lead car through the entire yellow flag sequence before I could drive forward again.
And those laps are long.
Oh, yeah.
Especially on road courses. It's like, oh, God, there's still 5 more turns left.
Yep. And it's like about, I think like 5-6 laps.
Yeah.
I'd have to do under yellow flag.
That's fantastic. We need to play a racing game one day, just so I can see you do that.
If I could do that. I mean, I remember on Gran Turismo, I actually rigged the car to drive like my first car did. It was like some shitty Toyota. And I screwed with the aerodynamics and engine, so it would shift just as strange and labor. Because this car was like a beater I got for $100 back when beaters cost $100.
Yes. Before we continue, I have to tell you this one story.
Mm-hmm.
So a friend wanted to prank people, so he got something like a Honda Civic or a Toyota or some very slow car in Gran Turismo, and he put a gigantic engine in it. I think we're talking like 650 horsepower, but he did not alter the suspension, the steering, the aerodynamics, anything in any way possible. So basically, it was undrivable. Even someone who could really drive, because the thing would, I mean, you would feather the throttle and it would snap to the right because it's way too much power. So he would give it to people. Yeah, this is a good first car. This is a good first car. This is a really good first car. And they obviously, a new player isn't going to just feather the throttle. He's going to step on the gas because we had a racing pedal or whatever. So he stepped on the gas. The thing spun so violently it took out all the other cars.
Oh my god. Well, anyways, with aerodynamics, the way that the car would swerve, my first car would swerve, I mimicked that with the aerodynamics and tilt of the wheels and everything. So this thing drove just as shitty as my first car did. And I was racing it. And I remember one particular race, I was going around a tight corner, and I flipped the car on its roof on Gran Turismo 1 or 2, I forget which one. But which is not designed for that kind of wreck. So the game soft locked. I had to fucking I was stuck at your car's flipped over, you're frozen in time now. The computer has no idea what the fuck's going on.
I like the sprint car game where there was a spectator tunnel built into the game, but you weren't supposed to be able to go on the spectator tunnel. So if you were to get on the spectator tunnel, the car would go insane and like jump miles at a time. So you get on the spectator tunnel and you jump about 5 laps. So all of a sudden, even though it's me and I can't, drive for shit, I'm 5 laps ahead of the entire field. Because the car just flew around 5 times. So I managed to win races in like 30 seconds. It was only like a 30-lap race. Anyway, let's continue.
Yeah, let's see what consequences for these actions the Dungeon Master came up with.
Just settled for revoking their access to the Suez Canal, forcing the Russians to make a slight tweak in their course. The slow, coal-powered...
So instead of taking the shortest route, by going through the canal through the northern part of Africa, they now have to go around the southern part of Africa the whole way there, which is a hell of a lot longer.
Nice.
Fleet made its way towards Africa, attacking more civilians and cutting underwater telegraph cables along the way. They met up with some German supply ships to refuel due to the aforementioned lack of African holdings to make port. What nice friends, those Germans. I'm sure their relationship will last. Africa's...
Yes, their relationship will last. Also, classic, just random killing of civilians and destruction of communications and everything else along the way.
Awesome.
It's pretty big, almost as big as my self-loathing, so they took on double loads of coal and kept giant piles of the stuff just sitting on deck. Definitely the kind of thing to land you an EPA audit. But it's not like any sailors were going to die from black lung, except for the ones who did. Morale is low.
Yeah, die from black lung. This is great. So, we got this because we know we need the supply, but it's fatal because of how we're storing it.
That is awesome.
Oh, it is a glorious day.
Although you're probably going to die from black lung anyway.
Yeah, I know. I smoke too much.
Crew decides to lift their spirits by treating themselves to the exotic pets of Madagascar. Alright, men. You all can... Hey, Igor, stop sniffing glue for a sec, buddy. You all can go to shore and pick out one thing to bring back with you. Nothing too crazy, like snakes or crocodiles. What did I say? Sir, I can explain. Watch it throw back the shot at Tito's. The ship became...
Yes, teach the pet to drink, so you're just taking on monsters as pets.
I love that. You can bring it back anything too great. Wait, what did I say?
Oh, God. I said none of these things. Why'd you bring these things back?
That's fantastic.
So now you're a floating zoo.
A floating zoo of Cthulhu.
That's as good as using your starting cash to buy random animals.
This is but why only a moron would do that. By the way, Jim, fuck you.
Fuck you.
Zoo, as the crew brought on a bunch of animals to roam the deck freely, including a crocodile and a venomous snake, which apparently took a liking for vodka. Panic followed shortly when the snake wrapped itself around guns and bit a commanding officer.
I just love it. It's like, oh, I'm going to call myself around this gun bite whoever comes by. It's great. That was the best pet ever. It likes vodka.
Drunk snake.
Yeah. The drunken snake just bit someone. All right, onward to the parrot.
Sailor gifted the Admiral a parrot, which soon took after his rather extensive vocabulary of Russian curses. The flagship soon...
Yeah, God, I wonder what the fuck a parrot would say if I got to train it.
Apparently, Andrew Jackson, the president, used to swear a lot, and the White House parrot picked up on that vocabulary. It's too bad audio recordings weren't around during the 1820s or 30s, whatever the fuck.
I'd like to hear any conferences or diplomatic meetings he had to have with the parrot nearby. Right, you fucking whore! You're all fucking whores!
Henry Clay should be shot. Henry Clay should be shot. My opponents are assholes.
Yeah.
Became overrun with chameleons who would frequently go missing due to their ability to seamlessly camouflage. Hey Igor, have you seen Comrade Camo? I can't find the little guy anywhere. No, I don't think so.
So everything's gone to shit aboard the ship that took all the animals.
No, this is going to be exactly like Jenny's D&D campaign.
Mm-hmm.
She's just going to unleash all the animals, and we didn't get any chameleons.
I know. I think we might have bought some of those. I'll say they're chameleons.
I don't remember what the hell we bought.
You were high when these decisions were made. Some of them I made for you.
Most of them you made for me, actually. I remember doing it. I remember, but we bought a lot of stuff. I can't remember, even if I was sober.
I know. Drugs and booze and...
Insanity.
Firewood.
We bought insanity.
Yeah. I don't know how else you're going to fill 20 bags of holding.
We bought a blue whale.
Mm-hmm. Don't know why you bought a whale, but you bought a full whale. Could you just imagine that appearing on land? It's slowly crushing under its own weight.
It's horrible. It's horrible, man.
It is horrible.
Have you seen him private? Yeah, I don't think he's seen him either. But a good zoo isn't complete without an underwater exhibit. And luckily for them, the cooling plant on their refrigeration ship broke down, forcing them to dump all their meat into the ocean and giving them a nice following of sharks.
Hey, look! We have reinforcements. Oh, they're just sharks.
Again, this is like your standard run-of-the-mill D&D campaign. Let's do this. Oh my god, the meat's starting to spoil. Throw it overboard. We got sharks now. Oh, fuck.
Huh.
I guess we can get more meat. We can hunt the sharks. Oh, we lost another Timmy. Roll up a new character.
Yeah, but Jim, the sharks, they love us. We fed them.
I know.
At one point, the fleet was holding one of many funerals for a sailor who died of illness. During the ceremony, the Kamchatka fired a gun salute. Excellent work, gentlemen. Hey, say, you boys did make sure to load blanks, right? Yes, sir. Yeah. Igor, you're looking kind of pale there, buddy. After some more...
So you hit your own ship during the 21-gun salute for a funeral. And you probably have to have another one after, whoever died during that blast.
He did say one of many funerals. How many 21-gun salutes is that? Jesus. I'm sorry. Whenever they fight the Japanese, I'm sorry, we're out of ammo. Why? What happened? Well, we had to fire a lot of gun salutes because...
people kept dying on the voyage. We need a new Timmy.
Literally all we had, we kept forgetting to fire blanks. So we're gonna have to fight you with like 1,000 rounds of blanks.
More shenanigans, like foiling a mutiny and receiving a shipment of fur boots and coats instead of ammo, Admiral...
Foiling a mutiny? Fuck!
Yes.
We're so incompetent. We have to mutiny because I'm the only one that's competent, but I'm still incompetent.
Yes. That is great.
Rozetsvensky realized that they were approaching Japan. Ah, shit, that's right, I didn't train them. So he decided to run some gunnery practice on a stationary target. Miraculously, our group of misfits managed to score a single hit on the ship towing the target. But
they can't stop friendly fire.
This is worse than you.
I know. Keep in mind, they kept attacking civilians too. They're just not mentioning it anymore because it's like, yeah, this just kept happening the whole time. Every random encounter was peaceful, and the party just said no. It's violence.
Even Valorous is like, wow, that's pretty messed up, man.
Yeah. Friendly fire is on. Boom! Yay! We're destroying our own city.
Good. You didn't need that city anywhere.
Hey, potato, potato. At long last, the Baltic fleet closes in on Japan, approaching the Tsushima Strait during the night. The fleet extinguishes their lights to maintain stealth, all except for the Orel, which, as a hospital ship, kept them burning in accordance with the rules of war. The Orel comes upon a Japanese ship in the dark. And finally, after an extensive list of false alarms attacking fishermen and merchants alike across half of the high seas, they come across an actual Japanese vessel.
Dun, dun,
And determine it to be Russian. So they use their lights to communicate with it.
God, they determined it to be Russian and they're communicating the entire war strategy to it.
The Battle of Tsushima ensues. Will our gallant sailors hold their own against the Japan? The Baltic fleet was decimated. 4,000 Russian...
It's like at this point, it's like, what did you expect? You've done everything wrong.
Will the gallant sailors hold? No. I love that. Will the gallant sailors hold? No.
No.
Die with an additional 7,300 taken prisoner compared to roughly 100 Japanese deaths. This effectively ended the war, marking the first time in history that an Eastern power defeated a European one. Way to go, buddy. Let's add that one to the scoreboard. Oh dear.
So the best part is they lost. Russia lost. Whenever everyone else that battled them won. Which was a lot. I
think even I won that war. Man, that's just sad.
I know. Oh my God.
That is the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were really good at stopping Nazis. They weren't so good at
fighting Japanese.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, the Russian Baltic Fleet's odyssey around the world is a tale full of shenanigans and blunders, with our troublemaking peasant crew racking up quite the body count of innocent civilians and friendlies before seeing an actual enemy. And yes, while they may have attacked ships from practically every global power, disabled cities' communication grids, killed fellow sailors with gross negligence of safety practices, nearly ignited a major European war, and were about as accurate as Helen Keller playing laser tag, they also taught a snake to drink vodka, 9 out of 10 stars.
What part of that isn't a D&D campaign?
And fuck you. And by the way, fuck you if you're offended by that last part.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was hilarious.
The blind kid knows. Oh my God.
I still love, just off topic. So I used to listen to, like, I had a Braille note with, Braille computer, and it had FM radio. So I'd listen to, like, there were some talk shows that were kind of funny in a way, and a guy made a joke about if you have one leg, why don't you just apply to IHOP? Okay, and now dumb joke. We've all made it. So some woman called in complaining because her son has one leg. Meanwhile, her son's laughing in the background at the joke, and the host goes, "Well, I mean, he's laughing," and the mother goes, "Oh, he laughs at everything." It's like, so you're gonna get pissed off for this kid, and then like dismiss the kid because he laughs at everything. Not like, oh, he's laughing. Maybe I shouldn't be such a uptight bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
I know it's off topic, but I just wanted to put that in because I hate the voice of the voiceless.
I hate them too.
I
also hate the people that are like, we should be 100% completely accepting of mental illness. Dude, I grew up in a mental institution. There are many forms of mental illness you want no part of. I've seen it firsthand. No.
Well, okay. So yes, we should be more accepting, but at the same time, if
I prefer the word tolerant. As long as you let me exist in my own corner, fine. But don't sit there and invite lunatics into your home. You don't know what the fuck's gonna happen.
So there was there was a guy with a mental illness who his mental illness manifested in him lighting things on fire. That's not a good. You don't want that. You don't. So, but I mean, I think my hatred is a little bit more personal. The voice of the voiceless than yours because, blind.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was an interesting video, Jim.
Yes, let's continue on to the next one. This one is, for D&D terms, that one player that says, I'm acting chaotic neutral, but they're actually acting chaotic evil. This is them.
What's this video called, Jim?
It's called The Presidential Assassination Nobody Talks About.
Now, okay, wait, before you press play, I said that was the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. That was the second most pathetic thing I've ever seen. Want to see the most pathetic?
Oh, God. And remember, we read Elliot Rodger's manifesto. Oh, God.
Although, well, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in a minute because I do want to compare them.
Yeah. So
let's start.
This is from Sam Onella Academy.
All right.
Hey kids, John Wilkes Booth, Lee Harvey Oswald, Hitler, all people who gained massive notoriety by killing one of history's famous leaders, but they're...
I love it. Hitler saved the world by doing the one thing nobody else could. He killed Hitler.
Two Americans who committed an equally heinous crime as these three, yet their stories are seldom remembered, mostly because nobody really cares about the presidents they killed. Originally I was going to talk about both of them, but the video ended up being way too long, so today we'll just stick to, this one I guess. Charles J. Guiteau was a pretty silly guy, and to understand how a guy could be so silly, you gotta start with his youth. Guiteau was born in Freeport, Illinois in 1841. His mom had postpartum psychosis and died when he was 7, alongside 3 of his 5 siblings. His dad...
Fuck. Everyone just died around him. Yep. This is like your typical, edgy rogue backstory. I'm chaotic neutral. Everyone died around me.
Dad, meanwhile, was mega religious and made a big point out of instilling those values in his son, often physically. This influence molded Charles into a boy who sought nothing short of total approval from others, and who would react very harshly to any criticism levied upon him. As a
any consequences for your actions are obviously just evil people, the D about to get you or whatever. It's never your own fault.
Well, we see that today, but anyway.
Mm-hmm.
As a teen, he moved to Ann Arbor, Michigan for high school. He tried to get into the University of Michigan, but he goofed on the entrance exam. So he did what anyone in his situation would do and said, well, so much for real life. I'm gonna join a commune.
I mean, yeah. Isn't that,
Let's go out and join a fucking hippie commune before there were hippies.
Yes. Apparently.
Specifically, he became part of the Oneida community in New York. In some aspects, this place was a pretty run-of-the-mill religious fellowship. From each according to their ability, to each according to their need, yada yada. But there were a couple of things that made it special. First off, they followed a doctrine known as Christian perfectionism, whereby everyone would strive to live their lives completely free of sin and reach a divine level of perfection while still on Earth. Now, this isn't really unique to Oneida, but whereas most people would achieve this through staunch discipline and careful self-reflection, these guys would just get together and take turns roasting the shit out of each and every member over any minute flaw they could possibly have. Real great.
You know, that's trying to be the good guy, you know.
that explains why there's an Oneida County, New York, just named after the sect. But yes, just roast each other. I mean, it's kind of like what we do, except for I'm not trying to live a life free of all sin. In fact, I'm trying to live a life with sin.
There we go. That's the spirit.
That's the spirit.
Now be a good little snake and drink your vodka.
Bite.
Bite.
and wrap itself around guns. Jesus Christ, what if he learned to fire them?
I know, that'd be great. He was probably the star against the Japanese. It's like, yes, finally I get some action. Boom, boom, boom. The snake's getting more kills than us.
I'm just picturing a snake like with a machine gun using its tail to fire.
Exactly, that's great.
For the psyche. They also practiced what was basically an early form of eugenics, where aspiring parents would have to submit an application and be judged by the committee on their moral and spiritual fortitude. If they were allowed to mate, children would be separated from the mom about a year after birth and raised communally in the children's wing. After all, wouldn't want any of those hopelessly flawed toddlers to think they're deserving of any affection whatsoever. Oneida.
This does sound like one of those, like, fucking rogue backstories trying to be edgy. They try to make me religious. So, I'm a good guy, because I make fun of people every bad thing they do, I pointed out. But then, you know, I also was abused for it. Blah, 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 blah.
Also believed in what they called free love, which meant that anyone could bang anyone at any time, as long as they kept it hetero, and exclusive relationships of any kind were actually frowned upon, which seems like kind of a weird habit for people trying to 100% FC this whole Christianity thing, but whatever. But wait, you're saying, how can you have selective breeding at the same time as extremely unselective breeding? Aha.
This is like, you know, the horny bard syndrome, but, you know.
I don't really, I'm not really a Christian at all, and even I understand how this can, I thought fucking was a sin.
Not just that, but, like, we're trying eugenics where we have to, like, have people breed in a specific manner, but we're permitting people to fuck whoever they want, which is, like, as unspecific as it comes.
Yes.
See, that's where male continence comes in. Under this rule, a pair could go at it for as long as they wanted, with the caveat that the dude's not allowed to nut, pull out or otherwise. That way, it's not a sin. After all, as the Bible says, if the dick don't spit, you must acquit.
Could you imagine the set of blue balls on every guy? Oh my God. The pain.
And the frustration.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be like killing each other, just driven mad.
Yeah.
God, no, thank you. See, I was all into the whole cult, and it's sort of like the whole, like, Jim Jones thing, it's an interesting cult. Oh, what? No sex? No thanks. See,
exactly.
that cults get it wrong. There's so many cults that just get it wrong. You don't want no sex, or only the founder can have sex. No. The underlings can have sex as long as they want, as long as they're loyal to you.
Yep, exactly.
Paradoxically, no such rule existed for the women. In fact, not only did the commune believe in female orgasms, they actually prioritized them, which is like unheard of in the 19th century. They'd even have the middle-aged women of the society train the teen boys in the art of holding in the old pelvic sneeze. That way, there wouldn't be any chance of conception in case the guy goofs up his first few tries. So anyway...
So you gotta fuck like some 60-year-old to lose your virginity until you get it right and learn how to hold it in and to have the most massive set of blue balls ever.
Yes. Yes. No thanks.
Young Gito joins this whole thing, and endured countless blows to his massive yet fragile ego, thinking he's at least gonna get a piece of this communal action. Except, the criticism towards him wasn't just a formality like it was for others. Everyone there genuinely fucking hated him, on account of the fact that he was a raving neurotic narcissist. He never caught a single piece of this allegedly free love, and after a while, they all started calling him Charles Get Out in the hopes that he'd leave. This is real. And after 5 long years of this—
I like how he has to point out that this is real.
No. It's not just real. The head of the cult, group, wrote a letter saying that he felt that Charles was insane. And this is the guy who started this whole thing, who's probably not firing on all cylinders himself.
Mm-hmm.
And even he thought this guy was insane.
Yeah, that's great.
this abuse, Gito finally got the hint and moved to New Jersey. He tried starting a newspaper themed around the Oneida religion called the Daily Theocrat, except nobody cared, so that failed.
So because he couldn't get any of that, sweet poon, he tried to start up the same exact cult in a new location so he could get the poon and couldn't get it.
Well, yes, and also to get money to to live and start up be a newspaper magnate. But again, nobody cared because nobody wants a newspaper based on not being able to nut.
Yeah.
At least I don't. Maybe you do.
He went back to Oneida and tried to sue the place in order to get back pay for all his voluntary unpaid labor while living there. But apparently
voluntary. He did volunteer work and wanted paid for it. Wait, what? That's not how charity works. What?
I've heard of this before. If people get pissed off at a charity or like a religious organization, they'll try to say, well, yeah, I did it supposedly voluntarily, but if you actually think about the man hours I spent, I'm worth this much. That's not unheard of.
Yeah, but that's also dumb because it's volunteer work. What the fuck? That's the whole point of volunteer work. You don't get paid.
Well, yeah.
God loves a cheerful giver. Unless you want money, then you're going to try taking money, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I'm mad butthurt isn't a valid reason for prosecution, so that went nowhere. Finally, he said, well, when your devotion to God has failed you, there's only one path in life left. Time to become a lawyer. He managed to pass an examination to gain
always become a lawyer.
admission to the Illinois bar, and subsequently joined a law firm in Chicago at the age of 27, where he met his soon-to-be wife, one Annie Bunn. Of course, Gito never really got to be a lawyer. He only argued in one actual court case. Most of his time was spent doing bill collection for random clients. This job gave him insight into how debtors think and operate, which
so he was a kneecap buster, getting money.
Apparently.
Allowed him to turn into quite the con man, dodging bills whenever and wherever he saw the opportunity. Even on the job, he'd frequently charge exorbitant contingency fees after the fact, upwards of 75%. And sometimes he'd just keep it all and completely ghost his clients. After all, what are they gonna do? Send another bill collector? Well, it turns out they did, so Gito and his wife fled to
Oops, time to run again. Relax, I'm chaotic neutral.
New York. Here he ditched law and started getting into politics. Specifically, he wrote and delivered a speech in favor of Horace Greeley, the 1872 Democratic presidential candidate. And he somehow got it in his head that if Greeley won, his campaign would be so greatly indebted to him that they'd fulfill his desires to be the Minister of Chile, as though a total rando like him could just, name a job and it would be his. In reality,
you gotta love it, I did this thing that was completely ineffectual, and guess what? I'm gonna make certain he's indebted to me for this thing that had no impact.
Yes.
So, what were you about to say about the speech?
I've been looking for it actually.
Oh, okay.
The speech was an incoherent mess heard by next to no one, and Greeley lost by a landslide. As the years passed, Annie got real sick of living life on the run with a broke-ass bitch, and Charles was none too keen on her weighing him down either. But back in the day, you couldn't just divorce someone willy-nilly, you needed a valid reason for it. So Charles concocted the brilliant scheme of banging a prostitute and then having her testify in court. The plan worked, with the pair successfully divorcing in 1874, and the only downside was syphilis.
That's like
really wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, at least he finally busted nut, you know.
Yeah, true. Although I can't imagine how Syphilis would agree with his already insane demeanor.
Oh yeah, we're gonna hit the end stage where he's gonna go even more insane.
Yes. He's gonna go full Jim.
Yeah. I'm chaotic neutral.
Whoops. Guiteau started dabbling in theology again around this time. He published a book called The Truth, which was almost entirely plagiarized directly from John Noyes, the founder of the Oneida community. But despite being a man of God...
So there's another attempt to start up the cult to get himself some boon. And now he's got syphilis to spread.
and now he's ripping off the cult that hates him.
Yeah. While dodging bill collectors.
Nice.
God, Guiteau was still very much a two-time environment, and moved frequently in the dead of night to keep collectors off his tail. His brother caught wind of this and wrote him a letter basically saying, hey, maybe you should pay your bills now and then so you can be, you know, a functioning member of society. To which Charles replied, and I quote, find $7 enclosed, stick it up your bunghole and wipe your nose on it, and that will remind you of the estimation in which you are held by Charles J. Guiteau. God damn. And
he actually did use the word bunghole.
Oh yeah, that was actually a very popular. H.L. Mencken described South of this. I think it was Alabama, maybe, as the bunghole of the United States, which is not true. That's not true at all. It's Arkansas.
To his own brother, the madman. Soon after he got arrested, bailed out by his sister, lived with her for a few months, attacked her with an axe. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for helping me. I'm taking an axe after you. I'm chaotic neutral. Wait, this is clearly evil. No, it's neutral. Attacking your sister for helping you out is neutral, not evil.
Except the best part is he thought he was good.
Yeah.
He thought he was chaotic good or something.
Yeah, let's commit the clearly evil deed.
Yeah, went to DC, rambled about religion to anyone who would listen, moved to Boston, got in a boat accident where everyone in his boat was fine, but everyone in the other one fucking died, took this as a sign from God, moved back to New York, and got back into politics in 1880, this time as a Republican. During this campaign...
I mean, so I'll say this. Elliot Rodger's pathetic, but I respect this guy more because he tries stuff and doesn't give up.
Yeah, he's still not, at least not, it's not like, you know, I tried, but I realized I'd never be as good as someone else, so I gave up. No, he just keeps trying, even though it's completely idiotic to continue, but...
I couldn't learn to kick flips rather than just, you know, be happy with, I mean, I can't sing like Bruce Dickinson, but I still love doing it. I couldn't learn to kick flip, or I wasn't as good as the other guys, so I just gave up on it. In fact, I was so mad that whenever someone called me a skateboarder, I got really filled with rage.
Yeah.
Whereas
like, you know, whenever he went on his fucking crybaby boohoo spree rampage. Wasn't even a rampage, it was just boohoo pity me. The crybaby temper tantrum that just turned out fatal.
And then as soon as
he just tries to run over skateboarders. How dare you do the one trick I could never do? Reminding me of my failed dreams.
Yep.
Oh, God, so much fun.
There were two main factions of Republicans, known as the Stalwarts and the Half-Breeds, which sounds like some Tolkien shit, wish we had names like that today. Now, Guiteau considered himself a stalwart, and in a similar vein to his 1872 venture, he wrote a speech to promote stalwart candidate Ulysses S. Grant, who was shooting for his third term. But before he got a chance to deliver the speech, one James A. Garfield took the candidacy completely out of nowhere, beating out both factions single-handedly. He was like, rats, how am I gonna get power handed to me now? So he literally just scribbled out all the references references to Grant and replaced them with Garfield and was like, yep, that'll do it. He read this speech all of twice, along with handing out copies to the Republican National Committee. In reality, this really didn't accomplish much, but when Garfield managed to win the election, Guiteau was like, yes! That was entirely me! Garfield is in my supreme debt. As God is my witness, he shall make me a consulate in Vienna or Paris or someplace cool like that.
He gave a speech twice at random locations.
I hope he actually said that.
Yeah.
I hope that was actually. But also, you have to remember that, first off, if you're confused about the third term thing, this is before. This is before there were 2-term limits for presidents. That's why. Roosevelt was elected until he literally died.
Yeah, 4 times.
Yeah. But also, I love that he just crossed out a name and wrote in another name. So it was like Garfield was a great Civil War hero, because Grant was. Wait, no, he wasn't. I don't know. So you told me that Garfield was some sort of super genius. I literally didn't know anything about it. I didn't even know, what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
To DC to await his inevitable appointment, but obviously nothing happened. So he started writing letters. A lot of letters. When that didn't work, he started actually stalking both Garfield and the Secretary of State, James Blaine, intercepting them in hotel lobbies, just being like, oh hey, yeah, it's me, the sole person responsible for your success. Say, how about a consulship? Alright, you'll get back to me, I get it. Whoa, haha. What a cool.
You owe me so big for me giving 2 speeches and handing out some pamphlets to like a dozen people.
Yeah.
But I'm totally why you won the election.
Yeah.
Coincidence. Me again. How's that consulship coming? At first they simply ignored him, but eventually Blaine snapped, screaming, never speak to me again on the Paris consulship as long as you live. Damn you, Garfield!
So now you're blaming the president for not knowing you because you did nothing of note.
And knowing, now he knows you, but he doesn't care because just because you wrote a speech twice doesn't mean you deserve the Paris consulship.
And it isn't like he wrote the speech for Garfield to read. No, he read it himself to randos on the street only twice. And handed out pamphlets.
Well, he did hand it out at the Republican convention or whatever. So that's something. But still, that's even if you actually read a speech, and Garfield was there, I don't know what speech writing has to do with being a consul of Paris.
I know, right?
That being said,
I sense a disturbance in the force. Maybe daylight savings just made Monday an hour longer. Wow, Garfield, that was quite the wisecrack. It's amazing how you manage to keep things fresh year after year. Burn in hell, beige dog. At this point, Guiteau completely renounced any faith in the current administration, and after a lifetime of clout chasing met only with disappointment, he decided his only option was straight up going postal. He convinced himself that it was now God's will to remove Garfield from this mortal plane in order.
I'm chaotic neutral. It's a neutral deed. Or a good one, even, because, I'm helping people out.
He thinks he's chaotic good. He thinks he's doing God's will.
Yeah, I know. Oh, my God.
In order to put his stalwart vice president, Chester Alan Arthur, into power, when he went to buy a revolver.
So he's going to think that the vice president owes him because now he's going to be the one that put him in power. So you owe me big time for killing your running mate who was president, and now you're president, so you owe me. What? Fuck.
Yes.
He was given the choice between a wood grip and an ivory grip. He went with the ivory one for no other reason than he thought it would look cooler in a museum. And on July 2nd...
So this was pretty much the Columbine.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? Like you wouldn't think like that. Well, let's see. I'm going to assassinate a president. Let's see. What am I going to wear? Let's see. Maybe. Well, I don't think those jeans look. Yeah. That's a good outfit. That's
going to look really good in a museum because I'm going to be famous. I'm killing someone to become famous.
And he was sort of.
In 1881, he ambushed Garfield at the Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station, shooting him twice in the back and mortally wounding him, all because he wouldn't give him a job. Garfield managed to hang on for 11 weeks before finally dying, which sounds like hell. Today's modern physicians actually believe that Garfield could have easily survived the incident if it weren't for doctors digging through him with unsanitized tools. Hey, modern medicine, thanks for not being worse than literally no medicine. It means
or, thanks for... Oh God, that's
so the interesting thing is what I was about to say is, I mean, he was famous at the time, but nobody remembers him like they remember Wilkes Booth or Oswald or Garfield the cat.
Yeah.
Because he killed the president nobody cares about. I think the other one's McKinley that was killed, but I don't know anything about the guy who killed him.
I don't know anything about that either.
I know
but
he killed because of a political disagreement.
Yeah, this guy at least has like a fascinating story. It's like, what the fuck? I can't even blame the drugs that you would have to be on to do this didn't even exist.
It's just, I mean, it's amazing how you could fail at literally everything.
This is being born insane and then catching syphilis and getting more insane because of that.
and I mean, he succeeded at least. I mean, he did something.
He did something at least.
Elliot Rodger couldn't even carry out his stupid Day of Judgment.
Yeah, I know. Fucking moron.
Loser.
Mm-hmm.
Means a lot. But that didn't stop Guiteau from being formally charged with murder. And that's exactly what he wanted. Matter of fact, Guiteau was over the moon, taking his new nationwide infamy as the fame he always deserved. His trial was just bananas, with Guiteau hurling obscenities at just about everyone there, including his own defense team, and formatting his testimony as an epic poem which he recited in full. He even dictated...
I think it was even entitled "The Reasons Why I Killed Garfield." What? Going through it was just like, yeah, this is complete schizoid rambling. What the fuck?
An epic poem. Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
That's
dictated an autobiography to the New York Herald, which, get this, he ended with a personal ad for a nice Christian lady under 30 years of age. What?
So he's trying to score a date thinking he's going to get off, probably because the vice president owes him for killing the president, giving him the presidency.
I mean, we've seen all the marriages and conjugal visits and shit in prison. So I mean, he's not wrong.
I want a nice Christian lady under 30. Still gotta get me some of that poon from the cult. By the way, have you read my book? What? The book you plagiarized?
Yeah, but this time he actually gets to get off.
Yeah.
What a baller. When the guilty verdict was read, he called everybody there low consummate jackasses. And on June 30th, 1882, Guiteau smiled and waved to his adoring fans as he was walked to the gallows, where he recited a repetitive, deranged poem he wrote that morning, which was performed in a high-pitched falsetto voice.
I'm going to the Lordy. I'm going to the Lordy. Blah, blah, blah. Going to the Lordy.
Yeah, there's text of the poem. People have sung it. It is awful.
I think it was even worked into a musical.
Into a musical, yes. Assassins. Mm-hmm. Not that I know. I don't do musicals, but it is like it. Look up the lyrics. It's called "I'm Going to the Lordy." It is the worst thing I have ever read in my entire. Baby Metal and Slipcorn are probably more talented than this guy.
Oh God!
Although I could totally imagine if you were about to be killed, I could totally imagine you in like a falsetto, but you'd be like, "I shit in my Cocoa Puffs."
Yeah, I shit in my Cocoa Puffs.
That has to be one of our things that we do. Some guy's about to die, any last words?
I shit in my Cocoa Puffs. Flump. Oh, that's the end of that character. Roll up a new one.
Yeah, but it needs to be more sing-song than that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll work on that.
Yeah.
since it was written in the point of view of a child. He asked for a full orchestra to play during the reading, which I don't have to tell you that went nowhere. And promptly thereafter, he was hung. When the gallows dropped, people were probably like, ugh, Jesus, it's finally over. I just came here for a nice little execution. They subject me to all that? I want my money back, frankly. So it just goes to show, you can't always get what you want. Unless that thing is getting everyone to hate you, that's extraordinarily easy. But
yes, it is.
and the thing is, it's a very long song that he's saying.
Yeah.
Like if I was the executioner, because what happened was after he gave a signal that he's ready to be executed, after the 5th time of "I'm going to the lump,"
yeah,
I would have just hung him in mid song.
And he wanted a full orchestra backing him because he thought it was like the greatest, most artistic thing to ever be created.
I want to do that whenever I'm about to die. Okay, I need a grindcore band to back me. 1, 2, 3, 4. I should make Cocoa Puffs. But yes, that is one of the most pathetic people. But I mean, at least he tried.
At least he tried.
But he tried.
Doing a lot of evil things in his life. But I'm neutral. Or
I
good.
I find this guy fascinating just because, like, most political assassins are, normal people who or not normal, but people who have disagreements, or maybe an ex-soldier or something. This guy was just literally a nut job. He was born nuts and he died nuts.
Well, while we're on the topic of assassinations,
but he went to the Lordy.
While we're on the topic of assassinations, let's start up with right after one of the more famous ones in ancient times.
Oh, the guy who choked to death on a dick?
No, this is Caesar's funeral from History Civilis.
That's what I said.
Okay, whatever.
There's a rumor.
Maybe.
When a cabal of Roman senators assassinated Julius Caesar on March 15th, 44 BCE, they were...
What?
Choked to death on a dick.
Fuck you.
Making a bet. They were betting that Caesar's extraordinary tyrannical powers would die with him. They were betting that the Roman Republic was more resilient than any one man. Only time would tell if they were right. No spoilers.
Caesar was a huge tyrant. He liked killing people, and he was just a gigantic. Although Mark Antony was no better. I think it was him when somebody insulted him, because lawyers back then were basically paid to insult people.
Yep.
And when one guy insulted Mark Antony, I believe it was Mark Antony, he had him killed, cut his tongue out, and impaled it on a tree.
That's a glorious time indeed.
Fuck you for talking.
Spoilers.
Come on, let's go.
In the moments after Caesar's assassination, the conspirators marched out of the theater of Pompey and proudly showed off their blood-soaked weapons, hands, and clothing. In fact, many conspirators...
We killed him!
...who had failed to get in on the action ran over and dipped their hands in Caesar's blood just for appearances.
See, I killed him too. No, you didn't. You weren't even there.
Yeah, but I'm in the blood, so I had to have done. Whatever. Poser.
I wonder what the Roman name for poser was.
I don't know. But for being that much of a poser, you deserve to be stabbed. Like
yeah,
Caesar.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Caesar's co-consul Antony had not been present for the assassination. He had been strategically detained outside. When he learned of Caesar's fate, he threw on some clothing to disguise himself as a slave, rushed home, and began planning his flight from the city. As a group, the conspirators crossed the Pomerium and marched on the Capitoline Hill. escorted by armed gladiators. They picked
So these guys are coated in the blood of Caesar, marching up with, like, a militia-style troop. That's pretty much what a gladiator is going to look like.
One guy turns to his friend and goes, "Hey, I ate a part of Caesar." "You did?" "Yeah, I call it Caesar salad."
Good.
Or Kaiser, actually.
Yeah, but, like, you also got to remember what this is going to look like to the people, because they're just going about their day. They have no idea what happened. And here comes some gladiators with the senators coated in blood saying, "Yay! Look at me, I partook." And it's like, what the fuck?
up a bunch of followers along the way. Somebody grabbed a pole, placed the iconic hat worn by freed slaves on it, and carried it high in the air before the victorious conspirators. The tyrant was dead. Rome was free. Word began to spread throughout the city.
Hey, we killed
The
Caesar.
ringleaders
Hey,
of the
Caesar.
successful conspiracy.
Yeah, we killed your leader.
Hey, how you doing? We killed Caesar. Hey, how you doing? We killed Caesar.
Look at this, it's blood, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Decimus, Cassius, and Brutus were overjoyed, but by the time they reached the Capitoline Hill, the city was falling into a bit of a panic. The streets were empty. The rumor was that a group of senators and gladiators had gone mad and were indiscriminately killing people on sight. People,
which is what the rumor would be if you were literally walking with gladiators covered in blood.
Yeah, they'd automatically think you're just murdering people running up and down the street. La la la! Oh God, run away!
I mean, I don't know about you, because you're on the opposite coast. But whenever I assassinate someone, I always wash my clothes and hands before parading down the street.
Yes.
It's just it's good manners.
Clean up the blood off you. Try to look as inconspicuous as possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can totally get that.
Rather than
and you don't go to the most populous place in town unless it's to get lost in the crowd.
With professional
you try to
gladiators.
leave town as quick as possible.
Yeah, I would, but I mean, I do get what they were doing. They were, hey, we've killed your tyrant or whatever. But at the same time, not everyone was against Caesar, and again, if you're with
Caesar was still pretty popular.
Yeah, and again, if you're with gladiators and covered in blood, what are the townspeople supposed to think?
Mm-hmm.
So, not the smartest thing I've ever heard of.
were fleeing to their homes. Several conspirators, including Brutus, addressed a small crowd, saying, in part, "There's no reason to be upset. Nothing bad has happened. Nobody has been murdered."
Nobody's been murdered.
I guess Caesar's not a person.
Yeah.
Tyrant has been killed.
Do we even care what tyrants are at this day and age? No, we're common people. It's just going to be one boss or another, but we like this guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't have a lot of details from this speech, but the general vibe is that it didn't go over that well. When the crowd was informed of Caesar's death, they mostly just listened in silence. For all of Caesar's faults, he was popular with the people. Now, the future of Rome was uncertain.
Yep.
This has got to be real good.
Yeah, he was popular. It wasn't like he was. It wasn't like it was. They hated guys. Caesar was still popular even though he was a brutal tyrant.
And abused his powers in every way possible.
Yeah, but at the same time, he cleaned up crime. I mean, before Caesar, there was crime everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And he, as long as you clean up the streets, you can do pretty much whatever you want. People will go along with it.
Exactly.
Speaking of an uncertain future, the conspirators didn't really know what to do next. All of their planning had basically ended at Caesar's death. There had always
That's like, the typical...
This reminds me of the Charles trial, where they didn't even know what the hell to say to the king. Like, you've done all this, you've got him on trial, and now we don't even know what we're going to accuse him of, or
or how the hell we're going to say this is even legitimate. How can we even try a king?
Yeah. And if you don't know what we're talking about, this guy did a video on the trial of King Charles I, which another guy did a great video reaction to, which is definitely worth watching. Actually, all these channels are worth watching. You can
vlogging through history. He's another historian. He went over the video this guy did.
You can eat up several weeks just by these channels.
Yeah.
And if you add in like gun historical channels like Forgotten Weapons, you're probably not going to go anywhere in 2023.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
Oh, fuck.
Especially as you see the parallels to our own time. It's like, oh, shit, it's rhyming again. Why?
But I mean, usually, it's interesting how, because a lot of assassins and stuff, they have planned, like, a lot of people who want to overthrow the government do have detailed plans about what they want to replace it with. These guys were like,
what? Okay, well, get a conspiracy, assassinate Caesar, something prophet.
This was my takeaway from the January 6th thing last year. It was okay. We invaded. We're in the Capitol building. Now what do we do? Okay, we're in. Now what do we do?
And they just walk around like idiots.
Yeah.
Maybe kick over a desk or two, and that's about it.
Bear spray a couple cops. Fucking John Schaefer. What a moron.
Yep.
Been vague notions of a political movement to restore and revitalize the Republic, but nobody really knew what that meant. They needed a leader. The conspiracy had begun with a meeting between Decimus, Cassius, and Brutus, and so there was a general feeling among the conspirators that one of them should take the reins. Decimus was immediately deemed too controversial. To the extent that there was public anger out there, it was mostly directed at Decimus. People were already becoming aware of the extent of his betrayal. The fact that Decimus and Caesar broke bread the night before the assassination would become a big deal in the days to come.
They were kind of like really good friends. I think he's even mentioned in the will.
Okay, well, Caesar, it's been a really good night, and I'm really happy. Thanks for the great food. Thanks for the wine. Now I'm gonna kill you tomorrow. And Caesar goes, what a jokester. Yeah, see you later.
And then he is killed.
Yeah.
And
then Caesar's last words, "You weren't joking, you cock."
Decimus was fine with this. He was a military man and had very little experience with or taste for politics. Cassius was another possibility, but he was another military man with a reputation as a hothead. Personally, he had very little time for diplomacy. Not a great quality in a politician.
Diplomacy? What's
left
that?
Brutus.
Diplomacy? Yeah, what's that? Just to eat the baby.
But also, that's some friend you have. That's a great friend. Oh, and by the way, stabby stab stab.
What, no peasant has ever tried to assault you with a baby before? Beat you to death using a baby as their makeshift weapon?
I mean, that happens to me like once every couple of weeks, man.
You know, you just gotta learn. You gotta stitch together a bunch of babies as armor, then run out to whenever you go out and try to kill the good guys.
Screaming, "I'm going to the Lordy.
I'm going to the Lordy." Wait, we can't attack him. He's coated in babies. They're still crying.
I think that's wrong.
Inhumane and wrong.
Even I think that's wrong.
I know, it's horrible.
He didn't have a lot of political experience, but he was a deep thinker and a good public speaker. He also had a famous name, claiming to be the descendant of another famous Brutus, who had founded the Republic by expelling the last king of Rome. The message of another Brutus expelling another king, founding another republic, was powerful. That settled it. Going forward, Brutus would be the
Straight propaganda is the answer.
Isn't it always?
Public face of this new political movement. The conspirators couldn't be sure how the world would react to Caesar's murder. For the time being, they decided to use their armed gladiators to barricade themselves on the Capitoline Hill. It's worth noting that there's been a lot of second guessing as to whether or not this was a smart move, since...
I mean, that just looks like, hey, we're the invading army now.
Gee, guys, you think we really should have killed him? Yeah, I guess. Okay.
They agreed they should kill him, but it's like, but they're circling their house with a bunch of gladiators.
Okay, you guys have you guys got to protect us, and you guys got to make sure that no rampaging hordes of civilians don't come at us with pitchforks and torches.
Yeah, and this is kind of just like, looks like an invading force is now here, and these are the senators.
And keep in mind, most of these people still think that they're mad.
Yeah, running around killing random people. Look at me!
Occupying the capital seems less like a political movement thing, and more like an insurrectionist thing. Nevertheless, that's what they did. On the Capitoline Hill, they waited. No word from Antony, who was now Rome's highest-ranking politician.
What was that?
Yeah, it looks like an insurrection rather than...
Exactly. So let's make ourselves look as guilty as possible instead of having, after we tell people, look, we did nothing bad. Nothing bad has ever happened. There was no murder.
Murder? What's that? I've never heard of that word.
As they're parading around coated in blood.
I see, with literal professional gladiators by their sides that are probably armed to the teeth.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as murder.
I think this is during a time whenever you weren't supposed to have, the military there, and it looks like you have a paramilitary force. Enjoy.
No word from Lepidus, Caesar's old right-hand man, who was on Tiber Island in command of a full legion. Late in the day, Brutus and the conspirators decided to make the first move. They sent a bunch of former consuls to Antony's home to negotiate. Lepidus was invited too. The conspirators told Antony and Lepidus that they had no intention of seizing power. They merely wanted to restore Republican ideals. They invited Antony and Lepidus to participate in that restoration. Antony and Lepidus made no promises at this time, but they all agreed to hammer this out at a formal Senate meeting the day after tomorrow.
All right, tomorrow, we're going to have a Senate meeting. It'll all be cool. We'll start bitching each other then. Yeah.
Yep.
Antony canceled his plans to flee the city. The conspirators considered this a success. A political settlement seemed on the horizon.
Yay, we're gonna win.
I don't think they are.
No, they made themselves look like they're guilty of everything.
Literally guilty of everything.
That evening,
Yes, literally guilty of everything.
Conspirators fanned out throughout the city, meeting privately with so-called neutral senators. Nobody knew what would happen during the Senate meeting, but they needed to know that they had numbers on their side. But they weren't the only ones busy that night. Under the cover of darkness, Lepidus's legion moved off of Tiber Island, crossed the Pomerium, and occupied key government buildings in the Roman Forum. While this was happening, Antony met with Caesar's wife, now widow, Calpurnia. With her permission, Antony took control of a portion of Caesar's vast fortune and all of his private correspondence. This transfer...
You should have killed Antony, because now he's going to be after people. You should have killed him too.
And now it looks like he's got authority because he's got all the cool shit Caesar had.
Yeah, so you only detained him. You didn't, you didn't kill him. So now he's going to be that was the same thing with King Charles.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what happened was Charles's son was still alive. He came to power, and guess what happened?
Chop, chop, chop.
Yeah, he
All day
hunted down.
long.
The only one he didn't hunt down was Fairfax because Fairfax backed out. I looked it up later. Yeah, Fairfax backed out, so he was spared.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else, I mean, they even dug up Cromwell's body and tried him.
And then hung him and could beheaded him after he was already dead.
How do you plead, maggots?
Exactly.
Was an informal signal from Calpurnia indicating who should be the heir to Caesar's political movement. A massive win for Antony.
Yeah, and again, he's alive. He's still alive. If you're gonna assassinate, you've got to make sure that all these top-ranking officials are either on your side or dead.
Exactly.
Because if you're going to just, it's sort of like, chop off the head. It's just sort of like, Fallout New Vegas has a Caesar. Okay, you killed Caesar, but the Legion's still alive. The Legion's still, granted, with a complete maniac at the front who isn't as charismatic as Caesar, but still.
Or good with politics at all. He's just strict kill, loot,
yeah,
name.
He's a military
but
guy.
Still, it's a savage threat till it burns out.
Yeah.
The Senate meeting took place in the Temple of Tellus, on neutral ground, way over on the Esquiline Hill. Lepidus stationed soldiers just outside the temple. Brutus decided that for their own safety, none of the conspirators should attend the meeting. Well, this was perhaps...
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, probably, yeah. In fact, I'd probably change my name to, like, Biggest Dickus or something.
Yeah, Biggest Dickus Runaway. Yeah. I'm gonna die now. People still kind of like Caesar.
Yeah, but hey, you'll die with an awesome name.
Yeah.
A foolish move, and it was much criticized after the fact. But Lepidus's soldiers inside of Rome's Pomerium were making everybody nervous. The conspirators sent a bunch of prominent senators to advocate on their behalf, including perhaps the most prominent senator of all, Marcus Tullius Cicero.
I've heard of him.
The Senate was broadly supportive.
You heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on Romology, but I know a little bit about it, and Rome's I'm not an expert. Most of what I know about it actually comes from playing Stiffy McCain, which, as you know, Jim, is the greatest game ever.
Oh God!
But Stiffy didn't kill Caesar.
Time for the rape donut.
Pretty much. No, you idiot! It was an apple.
Donut. Leave it all as a glazed.
It was an apple with vagina in it.
Supportive of what the conspirators had done. They agreed that Caesar showed kingly ambitions, and many argued that the Senate should somehow thank the conspirators for their service to the Republic.
Thank you for killing the guy.
Killing Caesar.
Thank you for killing Caesar. That guy everyone loves.
Yeah. I mean, there's the funny thing is there's people who still argue for him today. It's not like, because there are Roman emperors who were clearly insane, and everyone agrees that they're insane. Caesar's a bit more complex.
Yeah. He wasn't insane. He did like power, but like...
He was brutal, but there's people who still said that he did a lot of things that were right.
I mean, he cared about the nation.
Now, Nero was fucking nuts.
Oh, God.
Even Nero was so nuts, Macabre wrote a song about him. and you've seen what Macabre writes about.
Yeah. Let's go, serial killer. Yay!
Antony rose to speak. He said that a Roman consul had been assassinated, and Caesar's soldiers would not tolerate the Senate thanking his killers. That would be a step too far.
Thanking his killers? We like to thank his killers in front of the heavily armed people that know how to kill. Oh God,
yeah,
no.
we'd like to thank his killers. Stab, stab, stab.
Oh God, why am I dying? I just wanted to thank the people who killed him. Well, we liked him. Now you die.
Nice to see you.
Another question facing the Senate, just as important, was whether or not they considered Caesar a tyrant. If Caesar was declared a tyrant, all of his political acts would be declared illegal and would be repealed. Caesar had pushed through a ton of legislation. This would be incredibly chaotic. Additionally, anybody appointed to office by Caesar would have to step down. Antony offered a compromise. He said that if the Senate agreed to ratify all of Caesar's acts, he would agree to offer the conspirators not exactly thanks, but amnesty, a truce, an end to the violence. Cicero made a long speech in favor of Antony's compromise position, and with his support, the Senate made it official. All of Caesar's legislation was ratified by the Senate. The conspirators were granted immunity for Caesar's murder.
Oh.
That's good. Everyone's happy now. See? It's a good time.
Except no one's happy.
Yeah, I know. No one's happy. No one that counts. Like the people.
Yeah. Because they still killed Caesar.
Yeah.
Oops.
An interesting footnote to all this is that Cicero would later write that he did not feel free to speak his mind during this Senate meeting. The conspirators had their gladiators, Antony and Lepidus had their soldiers, and Cicero had nothing. He saw a chance at peace, and he took it. But in no way was he comfortable ratifying Caesar's illegal actions.
So effectively, he was shitting his pants.
Yeah.
Because if I say something to piss off one side, they have a bunch of gladiators who can rip me limb from limb. Or if I say something to piss off Antony, he has these soldiers that can rip me limb from limb. I'm gonna go right down the middle.
Compromise? Yeah, that's a good idea. Whew, that might save my ass.
Sir, what is that running from your toga?
Just a shit stain. Yeah, I'm old.
Yeah.
That evening, as a symbol of their reconciliation, Antony hosted Cassius for dinner, and Lepidus hosted Brutus. At the Antony-Cassius dinner, Antony tried to lighten the mood by joking around and asking if Cassius had a dagger hidden on him. Cassius replied, "I own such a dagger, and if you follow in Caesar's footsteps, maybe you'll get to see it someday."
I'm trying to be friendly and try to patch things over, and the first thing you do is threaten to kill me. Okay.
See, the thing is, I'd probably laugh at that anyway.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Good to know.
Cassius's reputation as a hothead was well earned.
Yeah.
Yep.
Soon after this rapprochement between the two factions, a small group of Caesarians met in Antony's home and opened up Caesar's last will and testament. Its contents were surprising. Caesar's will stipulated that every adult male citizen receive from his personal estate the equivalent to like 3 months' wages for a Roman soldier. A truly mind-blowing expense, incredibly generous, and enough money to really make a difference in the lives of Rome's poor.
God.
Damn. We should start assassinating. Never mind.
No, they're not going to will it to us. We know it. But, so much to kill Caesar. It's that way I get money.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back in time just to kill Caesar all over again.
That way I get 3 months' wages for free.
Yeah.
He also gifted to the Roman people one of his estates on the other side of the Tiber, saying that it should be converted into a public park. After these expenses were met, the rest of his vast fortune would be broken up like this. Octavius, Caesar's sister's grandson, would receive 75% of whatever was left. The remaining 25% would be split between two of Octavius's cousins. In the will, these three beneficiaries were referred to as Caesar's primary heirs. He also named a number of secondary heirs, who were basically named just in case everybody else was dead. These secondary heirs would also be responsible for bringing up any of Caesar's non-existent children.
Yeah, no children for you, sorry.
He was too busy to nut.
Yeah, too busy to nut. Oh, God.
Dang, I guess Caesar really was ambitious. Antony was named as a secondary heir, but so was Decimus, one of the chief architects of Caesar's assassination. This really goes to show the full extent of Decimus's betrayal.
Yeah, I liked him so much he's in my will. And a good spot in my will. You know.
Oopsies.
And he stabbed me. Mm-hmm.
Stabby, stab, 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 stab.
But that was all preamble to the shocking reveal contained within the will. Caesar would posthumously adopt his 18-year-old great-nephew as his son and heir. In doing this, he gave Octavius the most precious thing he possessed. He gave him his name, Caesar.
Yeah, you're my son now. I hope you enjoy. Fuck.
Nice.
Reportedly, Antony felt slighted by Caesar's will. He considered himself the heir to Caesar's political movement, but apparently Caesar didn't feel the same way. Octavius wasn't even in Rome. He was off in Illyricum, preparing for a military campaign that would never come.
Yep, it would take a few weeks for him to figure out what the hell happened, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
Thousands and thousands of people attended Caesar's funeral. Roman funerals were highly theatrical events. I won't get into all the details, but just for example, rich people would hire actors to dress up as the deceased party to give speeches on their behalf. This was in addition to musical acts, parades, all kinds of wild stuff. Caesar's funeral was a lot, even by Roman standards.
God, I love those animal sacrifices.
And now we have an actor dressed as Caesar. I'd like to say that my life was awesome, and the people who stabbed me to death, I hope you burn in hell.
Yay! So let's see the funeral now.
His body was carried into the Forum by a phalanx of veterans of the Gallic Wars. Before them, on the tip of a spear, they carried the clothes that Caesar was wearing when he died, still crusted with his blood. The veterans placed Caesar's body on a golden shrine high up on a speaking platform. Then, several of Caesar's friends and colleagues spoke to the crowd. This is where Antony gave his famous "Friends, Romans, Countrymen" speech in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. The speech is worth reading on your own simply because it's a great piece of writing, but it's not accurate. What actually happened is way weirder.
Okay.
Antony read a list of Caesar's achievements to the crowd, and after every item, he gestured to Caesar's dead body, as if to say, "And this is what happened to him." He made a particular point of reminding the crowd that the Senate had taken an oath to protect Caesar's life with their own. At this, he raised his arms to the heavens and turned toward the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus in the distance, shouting, "O Jupiter, for my own part, I am prepared to defend Caesar according to my oath. But since it is the view of my equals that what we have decided will be for the best, I pray that it is for the best."
In other words, I'd like to kill the bastards, but I can't right now.
Yes, and Jupiter's not going to help. Trust me, I know. That guy just sits on his hands all the time.
Ah, come on, it's Jupiter.
I know it's Jupiter. I've had dealings with him. He's not going to help.
Is he at least gonna masturbate?
Yeah, he's going to turn you into a sexy pumpkin.
Okay, there we go. That gets raped by all the gods. I understand.
That gets and then goes to the Charlie Brown pumpkin patch.
Yes.
Antony was saying that the only thing preventing him from avenging Caesar's death was the compromise that he had hammered out with the conspirators. Several senators raised a note of protest, but Antony continued, telling the crowd that it was all water under the bridge. What mattered now was the future. He warned of another civil war. He then raised his arm.
What?
I love pointing out all of his achievements and then pointing to his dead body. Yes, and he did this, and see what had happened, and all because of you bastards. You didn't protect him well enough. That's awesome.
Yeah. And people are all emotional seeing the leader that they loved dead.
And he's just going.
And he's just going like, yeah, he's awesome. I know he was awesome. And
now he's dead.
Yeah, what the fuck? But it's all water under the bridge, I guess.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Sky once more and began to weep, crying out that he would gladly give his own life for Caesar's. He went over and grabbed the spear carrying Caesar's bloody clothes and waved it before the frothing crowd for all to see. The actor pretending to be Caesar then raised his voice, quoting what at the time was a famous play. "To think that I saved these men just so they could destroy me."
Oh, good. What a good thing to say at this moment.
That's a great thing to say when he's all emotional and.
And you know, at this point, all the conspirators are like shitting their pants, like, oh no. And the people that ran that weren't even part of it, that dipped their hands in his blood to pretend they were part of it, are now like, oh God, why the fuck did I do that? I could have gotten away clean, but no, the crowd, no.
They're shitting their togas right now.
On cue, a giant wax figure was hoisted into the air. This figure showed all 23 of Caesar's wounds in graphic detail, including the humiliating ones to the face and to the groin. The crowd was already worked up into a fervor, but now the dam finally broke. They surged forward and took control of Caesar's body. The mob.
This isn't going to end well at all.
See, this is what you do whenever you plot a funeral like this. When the party commits regicide, this is what's going to happen.
And when the tyrant is still popular.
Mm-hmm.
The mob now had a mind of its own. There was a funeral pyre prepared on the campus Martius, but that was no longer good enough for them. Instead, they took Caesar's body up to the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus.
Could you imagine? You know that they're going to try to put the pyre there in the middle of the temple, and it's not going to be safe for the temple if they get through.
No. But don't ruin it. Come on.
Lepidus's soldiers were stationed nearby, and they were able to repel the mob and save the temple. The mob then returned to the forum, stormed some nearby law courts, and began breaking down wooden benches.
So they took wooden benches from the court.
Nice. Which is probably illegal.
Yeah, but this is for Caesar. He is the law. And now he's dead.
Would make their own pyre.
Nice.
Caesar's body was placed upon a makeshift pyre in the middle of the Roman Forum, and the pyre was lit. As a sign of respect, nearby soldiers spontaneously began throwing their weapons and armor into the fire. What followed genuinely turned into mass hysteria. People began throwing their jewelry into the fire. People began ripping their own clothes off their bodies and throwing it in the fire. Nearby buildings were stormed and looted so that even more valuables could be thrown into the fire. The mob was completely out of control now.
This is a funeral, man. We're looting places, throwing in a funeral pyre, man. Yeah.
I hope my funeral is like this.
Yeah, this is what I want.
Actually, what you're going to get, Jim, is we're going to load you into like a steam catapult, and we're going to launch you somewhere, and wherever you are, you have to land. You have to stay there, even if it's like the mayor's lawn. So, like, they just come up, rotting corpse, rotting.
Yeah.
Several groups showed up outside the homes of Brutus and Cassius with the intention of dragging them outside and doing who knows what to them. Wisely, the conspirators had gone into hiding at the first sign of trouble. As a plan B, the mob tried to burn down their estates, but
Nice.
Look, we can't add you to the funeral pyre. We're going to turn this into a secondary funeral pyre. What?
Very nice.
but armed guards were able to repel them. The madness spread throughout the city and persisted all through the night.
Nice, all throughout the night.
This is one kick-ass funeral.
Right?
By the next morning, several important buildings in the Roman Forum had been consumed by Caesar's funeral pyre. Caesar's assassins had lost the support of the people.
You think? Oh my god. Several buildings were consumed by the fire. They tried torching the temple. They tried torching the conspirators'
They tried killing
homes.
the assassins.
Yeah, they wanted to add the assassins to the funeral pyre.
Yeah, you think that they might have, lost respect or, lost the support.
Yeah, they had zero support from the people. Yeah, fucking Caesar kicked ass.
Oops.
Caesar's funeral marked a dramatic shift in Roman politics. I mean, you don't get any more dramatic than Caesar being murdered during a Senate meeting, but what I'm saying is that things were never the same after his funeral. As we've seen, the events of recent days had featured people brashly bringing weapons across the Pomerium. Lepidus had done it with his soldiers. Decimus had done it with his gladiators. This was supposed to be a death penalty offense, but in the chaos following Caesar's death, nobody had bothered to enforce this rule. From his position as consul, Antony made an announcement. From now on, soldiers would be permitted to cross the Pomerium under arms, but nobody else. Lepidus's legion could come and go as it pleased, but Decimus's gladiators could not. The conspirators saw this as a power grab, which it was, but they didn't have the votes in the Senate to do anything about it.
Or the support of the people or any of that shit.
Yeah.
You're just kind of fucked now. Yay, we killed the tyrant. Oh god, oh god, oh god, why is everything turning against us? We were the good guys, right?
Well, the reason everything's turning against us is you didn't have a plan. You didn't have popular support. Again, if you're going to assassinate a high-ranking, you need to think this through, man.
Yeah, really think it through. God. Plan for every contingency. Fuck. It's not just, yay, he's dead. Now what?
Antony followed this up with a written letter to the three main conspirators, Decimus, Cassius, and Brutus, informing them that, as consul, he could no longer guarantee their safety. Regrettably, too many soldiers wanted vengeance for Caesar. It doesn't take a genius to see the threat hidden in that message.
Everyone wants you dead, and I can't stop them anymore. You saw what the hell happened during his funeral. They were setting. They wanted to add you to that fire. I think it's time to run. Run!
And then that sound is them shitting their pants.
Oh yeah.
Conspirators were outraged, but what could they do? What Antony said about the soldiers was true. Besides, were they gonna insist on being able to bring their armed thugs across the Pomerium? How would that go over with the public? Decimus had had enough. Next year, he was scheduled to take over as the governor of Cisalpine Gaul, which, according to Caesar's example, was Rome's most strategically significant province. It wouldn't hurt to head up there early to start making preparations. Cassius and Brutus spent some more time weighing their options, but they couldn't come up with anything. They eventually decided to retire to the Italian countryside and wait for the situation in Rome to cool down.
That's
not going to happen anytime soon.
That's a really well thought out plan.
Yeah, we're going to stay close by, but out of town. You know, just because we're afraid what's going to happen to us inside town.
Yeah.
On his way up north, Decimus wrote to Trebonius, another conspirator who was on his way to his province in Asia Minor. Something to the effect of, "Get ready. If Antony makes a move, we might need you to raise an army."
Oops.
Cicero was distraught over the abrupt retreat of the conspirators. He wrote to his friend, "Can it be true? Is this all that our noble Brutus has accomplished? That he should have to live at Lanuvium, and Trebonius should have to slink to his province by side roads? That all the acts, memoranda, words, promises, and projects of Caesar should have more validity than if he were still alive?"
Yep.
Yeah,
Looks
pretty
like
much.
everything just backfired on you.
I mean, yeah, pretty much everything just went to shit.
Uh-huh.
Another politician put it even more succinctly, writing to Cicero of the rising tensions and the possibility of yet another civil war. If a man of Caesar's genius was unable to find a way out, what hope do we have now?
None.
Yeah, pretty much.
10 days for Octavius to learn of his great-uncle Caesar's death. In those 10 days, the world had changed. Caesar had been laid to rest in a fiery funeral. Riots had erupted on the streets of Rome, and the contents of Caesar's will had been revealed to the public. But Octavius didn't know any of this. All he knew was that Caesar was dead.
Yay, dead.
So he's coming back.
Octavius was in Illyricum, overseeing preparations for Caesar's eastern campaigns. Those campaigns were probably off now, but what did that mean? The people around Octavius advised him to take up the nearby legions and avenge his great-uncle's death, but Octavius hesitated. He didn't know what the political situation was like back in Rome. If he started moving legions around, he ran the risk of being declared an enemy of the people by the Senate.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's the guy that actually considered what the hell to do next. Unlike the conspirators, step 1, kill Caesar. Step 2, duh. Step 3 is profit, though. Just dear fuck, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, right. I don't. This is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Octavius decided to return to Rome as a private citizen. This was perhaps risky, but he didn't see a better option. Once he properly understood the political situation, he could decide what to do next. On the road to Rome, he began receiving a flood of letters. Caesar's will had been opened. Octavius was pretty much the last person to learn that he had been named Caesar's heir, giving him the rights to most of Caesar's Scrooge McDuck-sized fortune. As an expression of this passing of the torch, Caesar posthumously adopted Octavius as his son. When he got the news, we are told that Octavius broke down and cried. Octavius's mother wrote,
not just emotional because, his friend and compatriot died and now he's adopted by him. That was sweet. And he's dead.
But also, oh my God, I suddenly inherited all this.
Mm-hmm.
What am I going to do? As
I have more money than God now. What the fuck?
As Greg Grafford once said after all the stress caught up with him, weep like a baby I did.
Mm-hmm.
him a letter advising him to return to Rome immediately, but to take the side roads, hide his identity, and be on the lookout for assassins. His stepfather separately advised him to renounce his adoption, take the money, and to retire from public life as a monstrously wealthy man.
That's what I
With
do.
a lot of
I don't want
conflicting...
all this power.
Yeah, fuck
and
that.
By the way, okay, you're adopted. Things didn't go so well for the guy who just adopted you. So yeah, I would rather just like, you know what? No thanks. Thanks for the money. Now bye.
I'm just gonna let you sort this
island.
out because this is just gonna turn into a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm gonna go off to my private island.
Yes, that's an experienced player making a wish. I'm not gonna wish for anything. I'm just going to leave the ring right there and walk away.
Yep. Whereas you wished for infinite wishes.
And I'm still wishing for infinite wishes to this day. And one day you may encounter him. The entire scene. The goblin corpse. The dwarven corpse. Crushed by gold. The
yeah.
Elven corpse.
But you learned.
Yeah, I learned. I had 4 people. I had one person die to the goblin that had it. Then I had 4 people die to the Ring of 3 Wishes, all due to the wishes I made. Well, 2 of them technically didn't, die. One's continually being resurrected, and the other one's continually stabbing him to death trying to get the ring, but time keeps resetting.
And one of them's wishing for infinite wishes.
I wish for infinite wishes. Stab. I wish for infinite wishes. Stab. And he's just stuck there stabbing him.
Stab me, stab, 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 stab.
So that's my first 5 characters. One died valiantly in combat, and the other 3 were because I was only 6 years old and given a ring of 3 wishes.
So yes, if I would definitely renounce the adoption and just kind of go off to a private island and let everyone figure it out.
Let's see what Octavius does.
Okay. Advice coming his way, Octavius came up with his own plan. He would accept the adoption. From this moment forward, he would go by the name of Gaius Julius Caesar, the same as his adoptive father. This is hella confusing, and so historians have, over the years, decided to assign this new Caesar with the name Octavianus, or Octavian for short, which is just the past tense version of the name Octavius. But it's important to remember that this is solely a convention among historians, and that, as far as his contemporaries were concerned, he was a second Caesar.
I wouldn't do that, because the first Caesar got stabbed to death.
Yeah,
so
but
I wouldn't do that.
But if this was a D&D campaign,
yeah. If I was playing it realistically, no. If I was playing it as Valorous, I am real Vorka. Although Vorka went even further than Octavius could ever dream of going.
Yeah.
Yeah, Octavius just chose the name basically Caesar Jr. Retta's convinced that she is real Vorka, even though she A is an alchemist, B killed Vorka, and just
everything else.
I wouldn't question her though.
I would not.
When Octavian landed in Italy, he appeared in public under his new name. The crowds hailed him as his father's son. The Senate and the people were put on notice. The heir to Caesar was returning to Rome.
Now time for the conspirators to shit their pants more because it's being well received.
They're going through togas at a rate of like 5 a day.
10. Now make it an even dozen. We're going.
New one.
I mean, the plan was kill Caesar, something, then profit. What was the something?
Back in the capital, things were moving quickly. Antony and Lepidus had already pressured many of Caesar's assassins into leaving the city, which was good for them, but now they needed to look inward. If the Caesarian faction was to survive, the Antony-Lepidus alliance had to remain strong. As a first step, Antony's daughter was engaged to marry Lepidus' son, both of whom were children. This was a good start, but it was all symbolic. What else could they do? There was the matter of the Pontifex Maximus. The position of Rome's chief priest was a lifetime appointment, previously held by Caesar. But here's the thing. Sometime within the last year or so, the Senate passed some minor piece of legislation that said that Caesar's son would succeed him as Pontifex Maximus, Octavian. This was a problem. Antony did some quick thinking and argued that since Octavian hadn't physically come to Rome and made his adoption official yet, legally speaking, Caesar had no son. At least for the next few days.
God, this is like some Drow level backstabbing here.
Nice. Yeah, don't mess with it. I know. I don't think the Drow are hated, but everyone distrusts them.
No, they're hated and feared. Because if they do come to the surface, it's to raid materials and gather slaves because everyone is beneath them.
I respect
like
that.
You've heard of fantasy racists before. Oh my god, Drow are like next level. Like the elves are like, the ones that think, oh, they can't defend themselves. We gotta help them because they're too stupid and uncultured. Whereas the Drow are like, these things are beneath us. They exist only at our pleasure.
Nice.
If it is not Drow, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
and they're a matriarchal society. Men can never advance and station above the lowest of women, which I don't understand how, slave women exist, but they do.
Well, yeah, because they're beneath them.
But, the lowest woman is higher than the highest man.
Yeah. Like I said, I respect the Drow.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of their habits are kind of yuppie-ish, but then if done another way, it's just really tyrannical and nightmarish, and everything's a labyrinthine. Everyone is out to backstab you constantly. You're only friends with the people that want to raise you up just high enough that they could step on you and get ahead of you.
AKA politics.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm best friends with you, Decimus, by the way.
Stab.
Antony hastily called an election and made sure that his partner Lepidus took Caesar's place as Pontifex Maximus. The fact that it was Lepidus and not Antony offers us an insight that maybe Antony considered himself a junior partner in this alliance. The riots and the killing and the political uncertainty had everybody on edge. Violent mobs were sometimes known to target specific politicians or threaten to burn down the entire city.
All because you killed the guy we loved, so we're gonna kill you. Oh god, oh god.
Oh, no. Or worse, we're gonna burn down the entire city. We're gonna destroy everything that we love.
Because you took away the guy we loved.
So, I mean, that, great, and you had no backup plan or... This is going great.
Yeah, this is going great for the conspirators. What was the plan again?
Profit?
Profit, but oh my god.
There were already whispers of another civil war. Shops closed, foot traffic dried up, and a vast number of Romans went into hiding. The senator Cicero observed that, quote, even the mice are leaving. Many of Cicero's political allies had already fled the city and urged him to do the same. Cicero agonized over this decision, seeking advice from many of his friends abroad. In the end, he decided to stay in Rome and put his own life at risk so that he could fight in the Senate to avert another civil war. Friendly neighborhood historian Tom Holland calls this the most courageous decision of his life.
Yeah, it is kind of ballsy.
Yeah.
By April, Octavian arrived in Rome. The Antony-Lepidus alliance had a legitimate claim to the leadership of the Caesarian faction, but so did Octavian. They immediately began butting heads. Cicero writes that Antony started producing old decrees from Caesar that happened to back up whatever he was pushing at the moment. Cicero suspected that they were all forgeries, but he couldn't prove it. He also noticed that Antony was really dragging his feet when it came to handing over Caesar's fortune. It was Octavian's job, as Caesar's primary heir, to fulfill the terms of Caesar's will, which included the approximately 3 months' wages promised to every adult male Roman citizen.
God. So you gotta hurry up and get this money and give it out. Otherwise, you're gonna be completely bastardized here. So so they're fractioning the faction that was pro Caesar. Oh, God.
Yep.
Just completely fracturing. Not fractioning. Yep. Fracturing. Jim, get it right.
Me fail English?
Yes, me fail English.
As long as Antony controlled Caesar's money, Octavian couldn't do this. So instead, he ignored Antony. He made the rounds to many of Caesar's old allies, asking for favors and taking out personal loans. He couldn't raise the total amount this way, but he raised enough to get the ball rolling. People began receiving their money. But the most important aspect of this is that he let the public know that he was putting his own credibility on the line so that he could fulfill Caesar's commitment to the people. This made him wildly popular, virtually overnight. If Antony's goal in dragging his feet was to damage Octavian's reputation, his plan backfired.
Yeah,
that was his goal. Was look at him. He's not doing what Caesar said. He's just a snot-nosed little brat. Well, meanwhile, this guy's going.
See, I'm performing Caesar's charity, putting my name on the line, my own good fortune, my own credit rating, everything on the line, just to fulfill his obligation to the people.
And I think Antony just shat his toga.
Yeah. It's like, dear God, I tried backstabbing, and it didn't work.
That didn't work. That was the least. No.
Welcome to Drow Society. Except these are all chicks doing this.
Sadly, he would eventually release Caesar's fortune, making Octavian one of the richest people on Earth. By the summer of the year 44, Roman politics had completely realigned. Antony was still technically running things as consul, but Cicero was now the leader of a vocal anti-Antonian faction in the Senate. As Antony attempted to assert his dominance, Cicero fought him tooth and nail. The big debate.
Yeah, but now there's another scapegoat another guy you could just say, hey, we're behind him, not you. We can get rid of the one guy.
And by the way, did you know that Antony eats babies?
Dun dun dun. And he wears baby armor.
That's pretty much what I mean.
He wears baby armor and wields babies as a weapon.
If you've ever read Roman arguments, that's pretty much what it is. It's basically who can insult the most.
Exactly. You eat babies. Dun dun dun.
You eat more babies.
Dun dun dun.
That'd be funny if there's a musical every dun dun dun.
Oh my God, why?
Yes, I ask myself that all the time.
Over the summer was over what to do with the province of Cisalpine Gaul. Next year, Antony was due to take over as the governor of Macedonia. This was a great province. It came with 6 legions attached to it, but it wasn't the best province. The best province, given Rome's recent history, was Cisalpine Gaul. It came with a couple legions, a vibrant tax base, and most importantly, it was close to Rome. The threat of crossing the Rubicon was everything now. Whoever was the governor of Cisalpine Gaul had the opportunity to dominate Roman politics from a distance. But here's the thing. Decimus, one of Caesar's assassins, was going to be the governor of Cisalpine Gaul. In fact, he'd been hand-picked for this job by Caesar shortly before his death. But Antony didn't care about it.
What?
I said, oh, that's not good.
No, it's never good. The guy who killed me is now in charge. I wanted that before I died. That's got to piss off some people under him.
Oh, it will.
About that. He wanted Decimus gone. He wanted that province. he proposed a swap in the Senate, Macedonia for Cisalpine Gaul. But he had some conditions. First, Antony wanted to bring over the 6 legions from Macedonia and keep the 2 in Cisalpine Gaul, giving him a massive army. Second, he wanted his brother Gaius Antonius to take his place as the governor of Macedonia, leaving Decimus with just his toga in his hands. It's pretty clear what was going
on. So this is a great compromise. We'll swap out, and then I'll swap him out. Wait, what? How's this fair? It's not, but I don't care.
This is a horrible compromise.
Yeah, it's a great compromise. If you're on the winning side.
Yeah.
Going on here. It's exactly the kind of thing that Cicero feared. Antony wanted to be another Caesar, another civil war.
Yep. You need another civil war just to have some fun, That's just how things are when you're bored.
Isn't it though?
Cicero fought this request in the Senate, but people were exhausted, and nobody was prepared to go nuclear over a request to transfer provinces. He lost. The Senate sided with Antony. But Decimus didn't take this lying down. He said that Caesar had personally hand-picked him as governor, and he seemed to remember the Senate passing a resolution saying that all of Caesar's legislation and appointments were locked in place.
Yeah, but you stabbed a bastard.
So now he's defending the things that he stabbed over.
Yeah,
just because he still wants power.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's scumbaggery of the highest degree.
This is how draw politics plays.
I should be a draw one of these days.
Antony interested in tearing up that agreement because that would open a whole can of worms. As an act of defiance, Decimus took his legions and marched on some Gallic tribes in the Alps, winning a minor victory. The legions hailed him as imperator. He wrote to Cicero, asking if there was enough support in the Senate to get him a triumph for his victory.
What Cicero said was, "I'm sorry, there's not enough support to get you a triumph. Would you settle for a Norton?"
How about a Fig Newton?
Motorcycle humor.
How about a Fig Newton? A half-eaten Fig Newton that I dug up out of the sewers.
Mine's better. Mine's better because it actually makes sense.
I don't know.
Some people just don't have an instinct for politics because there definitely wasn't. The Senate had just voted to take away his province, but Cicero told a polite lie and said he'd look into it. So the Senate under Antony had...
So I did some little piss-poor victory. Can I come in here and parade like it was something major? After I pissed everyone off to the point that the Senate voted me out of my position and...
Oh, let's think about that for a minute. No.
I'll look into it. I'll look into it. Where's my beer? I've got to look into this.
Wait. Let me think about it some more. No. Wait. Still no.
voted to take away Decimus's province. Decimus responded by saying that they didn't have that authority. Things were at a bit of a standoff.
You think?
In June, all of the...
I know, right?
There's a standoff? Really?
Mm-hmm. We're all trying to outmaneuver each other politically.
The major anti-Antonians got together in central Italy for a big important meeting. The following people were in attendance: Cicero, Brutus, Brutus's wife Portia, Brutus's mother Servilia, Cassius, Cassius's wife Tertulla, and a conservative senator named Favonius. Decimus would have been invited, but he was obviously busy.
Yeah, Decimus would have been invited, but he's busy being a dick.
I like how there's like all these weird names, all these like ancient names, and then one of the wife's names is Portia. Like the one name still used today.
Yeah. Spelled differently, but yeah.
Well, Portia.
And Brutus.
Brutus.
Cassius and his wife Tertulla were running late, so the meeting got started without them. Together, they considered an offer from the Senate that would put Brutus and Cassius in charge of grain collection in the provinces of Sicily and Asia Minor. This was basically a way to get...
There's also, of course, Cassius, which was Muhammad Ali.
Yay, we got it.
Give Brutus and Cassius an excuse to stay away from Rome for the next couple years. Cicero told Brutus that they should take the offer. If they were going to continue avoiding Rome, they might as well make themselves useful. He could hold things down in the Senate. Brutus was indecisive. He told Cicero that it was always his plan to return to Rome as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, maybe next decade.
Yeah.
Fuck. People want you dead, kind of.
I would be avoiding Rome like the plague. Well, maybe that's a bad choice of words, huh?
Yeah.
There's a lot of plagues around this time.
Yep.
If there's not a riot, there's usually a plague.
Riot, plague, civil war, plague.
More rioting, which leads to more plague. Oh, God.
Cicero responded by saying that it was not safe for Caesar's assassins to show their faces in the city. He told Brutus that his survival was paramount, since he, as the leader of the assassins, was the Republic's only defense against tyranny.
That's right. Kiss that ass. Kiss that ass.
Oh yeah, he knows.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you're being a moron here. Look, you're the only face against tyranny. Get the hell out of here before, bad things happen to you.
This was blatant flattery, and who knows if Cicero even meant a word of it, but it seemed to be effective on Brutus.
Oh, no,
Cassius and his wife then rolled in there like a couple of tornadoes. Cassius got right to the point. Supervising grain collection is a slap in the face. He then launched into a litany of all of their squandered opportunities since the assassination, and in particular, he criticized Decimus for not being aggressive enough in Cisalpine Gaul. Cassius informed the...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You've literally just assassinated the king or the whatever the Roman king was, the head.
Imperator.
And yeah, whatever. And you haven't been killed or lynched yet, and you're bitching about how I don't collect grains. I would be just so lucky not to be killed.
Yeah, I know. If you didn't run from the city the day of his funeral, you would have been killed.
It's not even like his. I mean, and also his plan was so half baked. He was so lucky to get out of alive.
I know.
Because that
the first thing you do after you kill beloved leader is walk around screaming, "Yay, we killed him! I'm coated in his blood." Surrounded by what looks like mercenary troops during an insurrection. We're invading.
So now you're not being killed. You can't go back to Rome, but you're not being killed. You're doing something, and you're going to complain about how that's beneath you. What a moron!
Mm-hmm.
I would be like, yeah, I will shovel.
Do you know what you get for grain collection? You at least get some troops. That's at least some bodyguards for you, you know?
I mean, Jim, if your plan went so pear-shaped that you were afraid of being killed if you went to the capital city, and they said, here's something you can do, to earn a living, what would you say?
Fine, I'll run away.
Yeah. I will do all horrible things. Just don't kill me. He gets to be with his wife and kids if he has any, and
yep.
But no, he's going to.
He would be turning down the grain collection job. Instead, he would be heading to the province of Syria, where he was supposed to take over as governor next year. If the Senate wanted to take his province away, let him try. Brutus was like, fine. If Cassius was doing that, he would head to Asia Minor to help out another prominent conspirator, Trebonius. Brutus's mother Servilia spoke up and said that if that was their decision, she would persuade some friendly senators to get the offer rescinded.
Persuasion, spread them legs.
I would rather, yeah, right. I think I'd rather just do the grain collection.
Yeah, I think it's time to just be forgotten.
Yeah.
Because last thing you want to do is be remembered when it's time for heads to start rolling.
Yeah, pretty much. You've already assassinated someone. You know how easy it is to assassinate someone, and you don't think that the next the next person assassinated might be you.
Dun dun dun.
Their decision made, Cassius continued to hammer away at the absent Decimus for letting Antony get the better of him. Cicero tried to calm things down, telling everybody that it was useless to dwell on the past. He then began to, with no self-awareness, point fingers at everybody else in the room, asking each of them why they were not more decisive in the days following the Ides of March. Why on earth did they barricade themselves on the Capitoline Hill and hand the initiative to Antony? What was the purpose of that? Servilia cut him off.
If you just killed someone, if you just killed the guy, I mean, my step would be to try to neutralize as many people as I could, rather than basically hiding out with gladiators.
Yeah.
I understand what they were going for. They were afraid, but at the same time, all Caesar's forces and all his allies are still alive.
Yay, we killed the tyrant. Now I'm going to hang out here and look all gangster.
Look at me, Mom. I'm a badass. Idiots.
And shut down the debate. Nobody was really happy, but at least now they had a plan. Cicero would continue to work the Senate in Rome. Brutus would head to Asia Minor, and Cassius would head to Syria. From these powerful positions, they would have the strength to support Decimus against Antony. In the days following the meeting, Cicero privately railed against his allies for being completely useless.
That's great.
That's a criticism someone needs every now and then. You're completely useless.
Ever since the Ides of March, he wrote in one letter that, quote, "In good truth, I found a ship with timbers all gone to pieces. No plan, no system, no method."
It's completely useless. Useless.
Nice.
By the autumn of 44 BCE, Cicero had switched to a much more aggressive posture. He made a series of speeches and distributed a series of pamphlets that directly denounced Antony as a tyrant. These are known as the Philippics, and they survive to this day. Another one of Cicero's political innovations was that he began to publicly praise Octavian. If he could split the Caesarian faction between Antony and Octavian, he might be able to oust Antony in a moment of weakness. Octavian welcomed the support of Cicero and used the opportunity to ramp up his own criticism of Antony. Over this period, Cicero...
And he's going to remember how Antony tried backstabbing him, so of course he's going to go with this guy. I don't know how much he knows of a conspirator he was, but you know.
This isn't going to end well.
No. It never ends well. We're talking ancient Rome.
Cicero and Octavian got really close. Octavian began calling the older man father as a sign of respect. The opportunity to split the Caesarian faction came sooner than anybody expected. In October of 44, when Antony left Rome to inspect some legions, Octavian used his newfound wealth to raise a private army and march on Rome. It wasn't a very big army, only 3,000 retired soldiers, but it was enough to occupy the city. And just like that, a civil war had begun. It was incredibly sudden and strange. Nobody had bothered to make any official declarations or anything, it just happened.
Yes.
Antony approached from the south with those legions he was inspecting. 6 in total, 30,000 soldiers if they were at full strength. By November, Octavian had abandoned Rome and fled north, and Antony had reoccupied the capital. But Octavian quickly learned that 2 of those 6 legions under Antony were unhappy to be marching against the son of Caesar. At their first opportunity, they abandoned Antony and came over to Octavian's side.
Everything just keeps going sideways. Wait, this is a great political maneuver, but like now it's failing.
But the thing is, if Octavian hadn't declared himself, if Octavian hadn't accepted the adoption, Antony's plans would have probably gone much better because it was he had the ear of all the Caesar acolytes.
Yeah.
But the fact that there was someone else, now all of a sudden it's gone belly up for him.
It gets more chaotic. Sorry, this can't be the end of Antony yet. We have Antony and Cleopatra.
Oh God, Cleopatra.
Oh God.
I know who she is. Yeah. She was in the game.
Antony's first instinct was to have Octavian declared an enemy of the people, but with several of his legions defecting and Cicero leading a vote.
Wait, that's dumb. He's an enemy of the people. Wait, people are defecting to his side.
No,
we have a sizable portion here that are with him.
You're gonna say that one of the most popular people who has the support of everyone. Sorry, you're gonna say one of the most popular people is the enemy of the people.
Yeah.
That's a good way to get yourself killed.
Yeah.
That is a good way to get yourself killed, buddy.
That's a great way to get killed. We hope you enjoy.
Local anti-Antonian faction in the Senate, he wasn't sure if such a thing would pass. Both sides now appealed to Decimus for support. With his 2 legions, he could easily tip the balance in either direction.
So the guy that's allied with the senator who allied with the kid is being pegged to help out. Come on, I know you killed him, but you can help me against this guy, right?
Come on, you were his friend, and also murderer, but you were his friend.
Yeah, and this is the kid that's just unrightfully. Come on, you killed Caesar for this. Why?
But there was never any doubt. Decimus sided with Octavian. Cicero ramped up his attacks in the Senate. All of the pieces were falling into place. But Antony surprised everybody. He marched north, around Octavian's legions, and headed straight for Decimus in Cisalpine Gaul. Antony's legions outnumbered Decimus's by 2-1, but honestly half of those under Decimus were straight up rookies, so really it was more like 4-1. Cicero urgently wrote to Brutus, who was currently in Greece, urging him to bring all available legions to Decimus's aid. Brutus was kind of baffled by this. Had they all lost their minds? Had they really thrown in their lot with the son of Caesar? If the Caesarian faction was fighting amongst themselves, that was good. Just sit back and wait for the dust to settle. What were they thinking? Brutus...
Yeah, the problem is the dust ain't gonna settle.
Yeah, he doesn't realize this. I mean, that would have been nice before you threw in your lot with him and gave him support.
Yep.
But after... Yeah. So now you're being the moron here.
Was horribly out of touch with how quickly things were changing in Rome. Whether he meant it or not, he had just stabbed Decimus in the back.
This is just great. Things are going to end well for Brutus.
No, it's not going to end well for anyone.
I'm staying out of this. They're going to kill each other, and then I'll be able to sweep in and take victory after they're all dead.
Yep.
In Cisalpine Gaul, Antony demanded Decimus's surrender. Decimus refused. Within a matter of days, Cicero worked his magic in the Senate and passed 2 pivotal pieces of legislation. First, he got Octavian appointed pro-praetor, which meant that he had the right to command an army while still being accountable to the consuls. It legitimized his illegal actions up to this point. Second, all governors, including Decimus, were to keep their current provinces for the foreseeable future. Anybody trying to take away anybody else's province, for any reason, would be in violation of the law. Cicero and the Senate sent a stern letter to Antony, instructing him to stand down. He refused. At the beginning of the new year, Antony's term as consul expired, and 2 new consuls took office, former Caesarians, who were now loyal to Cicero. The 2 new consuls took command of 4 legions, and joined up with Octavian in central Italy. Together, they all marched north to Decimus's aid. Cicero instructed one of the consuls to assume overall command, and the other to split off and raise additional legions. The consuls followed Cicero's orders, which tells you a lot. Decimus didn't mess around, and
And interestingly, where Decimus and Antony met up is now known as Modena in Italy. And Modena is, of course, home to one Enzo Ferrari.
Yay, Ferrari from Rome.
That's just a little fact that I know, so I said it.
I just love this. All the backstabbing's coming out.
Oh my
Everyone's
God,
going after Antony. Yay, he's doomed.
Quickly moved to occupy the city of Mutina. He mobilized the entire population.
Huh?
That's it. Mutina is now Modena. It was called Mutina back then. That's it. Told you.
In preparation for a siege, and before too long, he had several years of food in storage, and was training a new legion made up of locals. This was a smart, strategic move. Antony was way out on a limb, and Decimus had Cicero and the Senate on his side. All he had to do was drag things out until friendly legions arrived. Antony must have finally realized that he was in a sticky situation, because his next move was to send a peace offer to Cicero. He would withdraw from Cisalpine Gaul, he said, if the Senate would agree to grant him the province of Transalpine Gaul, which was all the territory north of here, basically all of Caesar's conquests from the Gallic Wars. Obviously, Cicero said no. The 1-year anniversary of Caesar's assassination came and went.
I just love the balls of that. Give me like a shit ton more land than what you were going to give me originally. No. You've gone fucked up, son. Oh, God, I'm fucked.
This is awful.
With very little fanfare. In April, Octavian and one of the consuls arrived in Cisalpine Gaul. They outnumbered Antony 7 legions to 4, but since many of their legions were new and inexperienced, and Antony's were not, they judged that the two sides were basically equally matched. They decided to wait for the other consul to show up with 4 additional legions. But Antony surprised everybody for a second time. He abandoned the siege of Mutina and marched south, back around Octavian and the one consul, and set up between the two armies. Antony set an ambush and tricked the consul to the south into attacking through some wetlands. The fighting was exhausting, but by the end of the day, Antony's legions had stormed the enemy camp. The consul was killed in the fighting. Octavian and the other consul sent help, but they arrived too late. There was another minor clash, but Antony and his exhausted legions withdrew back to the north. Octavian and the only remaining...
This is just like, yeah, we're going to keep sieging the city. What? Break off. Kill these guys. Okay, these guys broke off. Now I got just the pitiful forces left. But a siege where they have enough food for a long, long time.
And Mutina was mostly made up of ex-soldiers who I guess the thing was, after you served like 25 or 26 years, you got land as payment. But the whole thing is Mutina at the time, before the soldiers got it, was they had to drain the swamps and stuff. So these are hard-bitten, hard-working people who distrust authority. So you're going to lay siege to a city filled with ex-soldiers who don't really like you.
Yeah.
That's going to work. That's going to end. So he probably saved his own ass there.
Yeah.
Remaining consul decided not to delay any longer. They marched to relieve the siege of Mutina. Antony's exhausted legions put up a fight, but when Decimus opened the city gates and attacked from the other direction, he was forced to retreat. This battle happened on Decimus's birthday, which is not important, but it is funny.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
That's great.
Happy birthday to Stab.
Yeah, thank you for the stabby time. It was great. I like happy birthday stabby time.
Happy birthday.
Speaking of our collective unceasing march toward death, that other consul died during the battle. That means that both Roman consuls had died in battle, something that had not happened in 2 centuries, not since the Punic Wars. With news of the victory, Cicero had the Senate name Antony an enemy of the people.
Name him the enemy of the people. No, maybe naming you enemy of the people now.
This is gonna end really well for Cicero. I can feel it.
Oh yeah.
Can we just pause for a moment to appreciate what Cicero had accomplished here? A year ago, it looked like Antony was about to become a second Caesar. Instead, Cicero implemented a political strategy that split the Caesarian faction and ended with
It's such a beautiful day.
Yeah. It looked like that he was going to become...
I'm winning! Oh no!
Antony being declared an enemy of the Republic. What an achievement! Antony retreated north across the Alps and joined up with Lepidus. Decimus followed close behind. Meanwhile, Brutus was in Greece. Through diplomacy, he had used this time to gather the support of all of the provincial governors from Illyricum to Syria. This was all highly illegal, of course, but Cicero eventually secured for him an actual command, which gave the whole thing some legitimacy. Through this process, Brutus captured Antony's brother, Gaius Antonius. Cassius was still in Syria, in command of 8 legions. Some clever thinking allowed him to intercept a Roman army headed from Egypt to Italy, bringing his total up to 12 legions. Cassius pressed Brutus to go on the attack, but Brutus remained cautious. He argued that since they had broad support across the empire, there was no need to force one decisive battle. Much better to just let the Caesarians bleed each other dry. I do my best to be generous to these historical figures who were acting with imperfect information, but I will point out that during this crisis, Brutus's first instinct always seemed to be do nothing. That's an alarming trait. I wonder how different things would have been if Cassius had been the one put in charge.
Yeah. Cassius was, all kind of a hot, Cassius Decimus, and I know one of them was kind of a hothead, but Brutus just doesn't seem to have any sort of decisive bones in his body.
He has this understanding that, like, look, they're going to kill each other. It's great. Not realizing, we kind of put our lot behind the one guy, so we got to, like, help him. And it's like, no, relax. It'll all be fine. Well, what happens whenever you end up backstabbing the guy that you just put all your support behind? And you already backstabbed some other dude, and, like, you backstabbed other people, and this is on top of killing Caesar. You're now known as a perennial backstabber. You've done things that were completely illegal. Fuck. On top of all that, after the fact, it's like, okay, what now? All of this is going to be remembered as you, the guy that did nothing.
What now, indeed?
By the summer of 43, Octavian began to complain to Cicero about the empty consulships. He said that it was impossible to prosecute a war without leadership at the top. He said that, wait for it, he should be named a replacement consul. It's not actually clear that this was necessary at all. Elections were already ramping up for next year, the Senate was functioning properly, the armies in the field were winning. What was the big emergency? Cicero and the Senate denied Octavian's request. And then, just like...
Yep, there's some mistakes made.
Yep.
Even though it's perfectly logical, makes sense, but now it's like, okay, well, you pissed me off then.
That, Octavian marched on Rome. Again. Things are getting pretty wacky, so let's take a second to recap. Decimus was attacking Antony. Cicero and the Senate were supporting Decimus and attacking Antony. Brutus and Cassius were supposed to be attacking Antony, but since they distrusted Octavian, they were keeping their powder dry. Octavian had been attacking Antony, but now he was attacking Cicero and the Senate. It was starting to look like a 5-sided civil war. Cicero and the Senate called upon...
Nobody has no idea what they're doing.
Well, technically kind of 4-sided, even though, the other two are doing, because the other guys are doing nothing.
Yeah, but the problem is here, nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And everyone's just getting pissed off. How dare you short me? Oh, no.
This is like this is worse than... Ugh.
This is pure drow politics.
4 legions in North Africa to defend the capital, but all 4 went over to the son of Caesar. Octavian sent some centurions into the city of Rome to negotiate. According to one account, maybe embellishing a bit for dramatic effect, the lead centurion approached a group of senators, rested his hand on the hilt of his sword, and said, "If the Senate does not make Octavian a consul, this will." The Senate called special elections, but everybody knew the results in advance. Octavian and one of his cousins were elected consuls, and took office immediately. One of Octavian's first acts was to condemn Caesar's assassins.
Oh God, now everything is falling apart. Well, this is just the moment I was waiting for. Thank you. Now I'm gonna get you bastards.
I still like, if you don't make him, this will. Unsheathed sword. It's like Pablo Escobar's, if you won't take a bribe, maybe you'll take a bullet.
Yep.
Officially ending the grand compromise that was set up immediately after Caesar's assassination. If you remember, the assassins were granted.
Huh?
Who didn't think? I mean, there's no way in hell that compromise was going to last.
Exactly. It was either going to end one way or the other, and now you've outplayed your hand and gotten public to support the one guy that's going to undo you now.
I'm not just saying that because I know the story. What I mean is just no. There's no way that's going to last.
Granted amnesty in exchange for ratification of Caesar's political acts. That was all over now. Octavian had altered the deal. Cicero was distraught. He bitterly wrote to Decimus, telling him that, quote, "The Senate was my weapon, and it has fallen to pieces in my hand." He also wrote to Brutus in Greece, telling him to get to Rome as soon as humanly possible. Incredibly, Brutus refused. He seemed to believe that he and Cicero were having some minor disagreement over tactics. He was mistaken. What Cicero was actually...
I'm still doing nothing. Because they'll just kill each other, right? It'll all work itself out.
They're not just going to kill each other. You're on their shit list.
Yeah. You're now officially on their shit list.
This is great.
And like I said, this is just the world of the drought. It all happens underground, and it's run by females. This is what the females are doing. And the men are trying to claw up their way to get power underneath them. But they can only go so far because they're men, not women.
Awesome.
Saying was that he had lost the war. His attempt to split the Caesarian faction had failed.
Maybe they need a Caesarian section.
In defeat, Cicero left the city in Octavian's hands and retired to the Italian countryside. As consul, Octavian opened up negotiations with Antony. In doing so, he stabbed Cicero, Decimus, Cassius, Brutus, and the entire Roman Senate in the back.
Yep.
Antony...
It was going to happen.
Yeah, of course it was going to happen. You killed... I mean, even though he wasn't his son at the time, he was his, favored guy. So you killed, this guy who he loves, and now he's, adopted. Of course this is going to happen.
So he changed sides. Like, yeah, well, Antony backstabbed me, but, I liked his backstabbing better than these other guys because they actually killed the guy I liked.
Why didn't they think that this would happen? Like, I knew that this would, honestly, I would be stabbing Octavian several times as soon as he came in. Like, nope, he's too much of a threat.
I know, but this is what's going on now. You're all fucked.
Yeah.
All trying to save face, be polite, while you stab everyone in the back.
I mean, I get Brutus's idea, as you said, they'll all kill each other, but no.
And Lepidus spent all summer recruiting soldiers, and by the autumn, they re-entered Cisalpine Gaul with 18 legions. Decimus had no choice but to pull back. On his difficult trek back through the Alps, most of his army deserted him. His initial plan was to head east and join...
I mean, when you're kind of enemy of the state now, running around saying, look, we stabbed him, yay! Oh, fuck.
Well, and the armies decided that, look, This is going nowhere. You're incompetent. Bye.
Yeah, you're going to die now.
Yeah.
Joined forces with Brutus and Cassius, but without an army, there was very little point in doing that. Instead, he decided to head north. Decimus had spent the better part of a decade campaigning with Caesar in Gaul. He had plenty of allies up there, he was fluent in the language, perhaps he could pull some strings and raise an army. But apparently when Decimus reached the Rhine River, everybody, including his bodyguards, abandoned him. Without protection, it was
Well, yeah, you're one of the fuckers who stabbed the guy. They're the people who stabbed Caesar now. Run! You're on your own!
You should have had a plan, man.
Should have had a plan.
I mean, okay, we stabbed Caesar. Now we're just going to wing it. And this is what happens when you wing it.
It wasn't safe for Decimus to be in Gaul, and so he changed plans once more, disguised himself as a local, and started making his way east to Brutus. But Decimus's string of bad luck would not end. While going through a totally routine checkpoint in Cisalpine Gaul, a Roman soldier recognized his face. Decimus was captured, and Antony demanded his head. Within a few days, he got it.
I am not Decimus.
It was on his birthday. Yay!
I am not Decimus. I am a humble traveler named Dave. No, you're Decimus. I told you, my name is Dave.
Dave, Decimus, don't matter. We don't care anymore. What?
Dave's not here, man. Chop.
Late in the year, Octavian, Antony, and Lepidus met near the border of Cisalpine Gaul and Italy to negotiate a deal. This deal would become known to historians as the Second Triumvirate. Unlike the First Triumvirate between Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, this was official, backed up with the full force of law. All three triumvirs would be awarded dictatorial power for 5 years. In addition to this, each would be responsible for governing a portion of the western half of Rome's empire. Remember, Brutus and Cassius still controlled the east. Antony would control Gaul, which is exactly what he had wanted since the beginning. Lepidus would control Spain. Octavian would control North Africa and the Mediterranean islands like Sicily and Sardinia. You can tell from this agreement that Octavian was the junior partner here. The triumvirate also gave the three the ability to make law without consulting the Senate or the people of Rome. This is, frankly, what Cicero had feared all along.
So everything collapsed and you got the exact opposite of what you wanted. You got everything you fought against as being part of this plot.
Speaking of Cicero, I wonder how he's faring.
Oh, it's going to be even better now.
Unchecked authoritarian power. A Roman monarchy with 3 heads.
It's a
Antony, Lepidus, and Octavian then ordered a purge of Rome's political class. The Romans called these proscriptions. This was not without precedent. The dictator Sulla had ordered large proscriptions 40 years earlier. But this
is great.
This isn't going to end well for anyone.
Thanks for the support early on, but now I don't need you. Goodbye.
Chop.
This was regarded as a...
Well, these guys ain't technically going to get chopped, but it's worse than getting chopped.
traumatic event, not only to Rome's political class, but to Caesar personally, who was careful to avoid doing the same thing when he came to power. But Antony, Lepidus, and Octavian were young, and had no memory of Sulla's purge. They didn't care. Their enemies had to go. The way prescriptions worked is that every day a list would be posted in a public place with the names of those that had been prescribed. Anybody on the list was instantly stripped of their citizenship and was no longer under the protection of Roman law. Any citizen who ratted out or murdered a prescribed person was entitled to seize a portion of their wealth, with the rest going to the state.
Oh my god.
Yes, snitches get riches. This is even worse than just your typical murder. Because now there's nothing left.
So it's not even like, because, like dictators strip people of political power or whatever, but they're still, citizens or whatever. But this is literally, nope, you're not a person anymore.
Yeah, you're not even worthy of being called a slave.
Wow, that's evil.
Yeah, snitches get riches.
The prescriptions were truly a repugnant practice. They turned a whole generation of murderers into millionaires. Of course, many fled as soon as their names appeared on the prescription lists, but the promise of wealth completely destroyed friendships and tore families apart. It was horrible. As much...
Well, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
How are you going to trust anyone?
And the best part is his son comes home. Hey, Dad, how's it going? Stab! I saw your name on the list.
or wife, or daughter, or mother.
Yeah, whoever. Cousin Paul, twice removed. Stab.
You can't trust anyone.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
As a third of the Roman Senate was prescribed, as well as thousands of other rich citizens. In fact, the historian Appian writes that some were prescribed simply because they were rich. That's bad, I think.
No, we have to redistribute the wealth.
God, here he is. Oh, Jimbo.
Yeah. Wasn't that what happened whenever they tried it?
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's bad. Murder's bad. We're anti-murder in this house.
Aww. Become part of the pro-murder league. It's great. Join the evil side.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm pro-murder as long as it's not someone I love or me.
Yeah, really. And then, you gotta remember, you kill these guys, you get rich.
oh, and also, Jim is free to be murdered. I don't care.
Too bad. I'll just become a god.
Oh, God.
There was an ongoing negotiation between Antony, Lepidus, and Octavian as to who would appear on the prescription lists. In the end, they were all forced to compromise and give up people who they would have preferred to save. Antony gave up his uncle. Lepidus gave up his brother. Octavian gave up Cicero, the man that he had once called father. Antony was the one who insisted.
Well, yeah, because Cicero basically verbally tore him a new one in those pamphlets, and Antony didn't like being verbally torn a new one. So, yeah. I know it's gonna.
And then the best part is, he had to give up the guy. Octavian had to give up the guy that, supported him in his claim the whole time, not realizing that he was just a tool because he came into the game too late.
Well, even if he did realize it, I this is the best I got, but yeah, now so Cicero was known as he was a lawyer, and the lawyers were basically orators at the time, because if you won a case against someone, you got his Senate seat. So he was used to tearing people verbal new ones, but I think he just picked on the wrong guy.
Yep.
Let's see what happens.
On December 7th, 43 BCE, a small group, led by a military tribune and a centurion, showed up at Cicero's villa. The doors were locked, but they busted in. After interrogating some workers, they learned that Cicero was on his way to the sea. They caught up with him on the road. He knew that he was caught. He told his entourage to stop. They found him in a reclined position, reading. He spoke to his killers. "I am stopping here." He turned to the lead centurion. "Come here, soldier. There's nothing proper about what you're doing, but at least make sure you cut off my head properly." Cicero stuck out his neck and indicated what he wanted done. The centurion slit his throat.
Yay!
The group of killers then cut the head and the hands off of Cicero's body and sent them to Antony as proof. Antony nailed Cicero's hands to the speaking platform outside the Senate House. The same hands that wrote all those pamphlets opposing him 1 year ago. It is so upsetting that Cicero went out this way. He deserved better.
Yep.
Yep, he deserved better, but...
Yeah. But at the same time, that's the problem with, basically insulting someone with all the power. Once he gets the power, I mean, Cicero knew as soon as Antony and all the others, he knew he was fucked.
Totally fucked.
He must have known that, okay, of course I'm going to be prescribed. This is
what's going to happen. I'm probably going to be the first one on the list.
Yep.
Historian Anthony Everett calls him the greatest statesman in Roman history. I love Cicero. I'm in that camp too.
He seemed like he was the only guy who actually...
Years later.
...had a plan.
Yeah, the only guy had a plan. Well, everyone else is like, kill Caesar, then profit.
And he was the only guy with a plan that didn't involve being a complete maniac dictator.
Mm-hmm.
And because he knew... Because remember, Octavian's like 18 years old. Would you trust an 18-year-old? I wouldn't even trust 21-year-old me.
I wouldn't have trusted myself till I was 25.
I wouldn't trust you, period. Yeah, but 26, 25, 26 is maybe when but oh my God.
I know.
When Octavian was an old man, he caught his grandson reading something that Cicero had written. His grandson had some vague notion that this was some old enemy of his grandfather's, and so in a panic, he tried to hide the writing under his clothes. Octavian saw what he was trying to do, and had him hand it over. For a long time, he stood there, reading the words of Cicero, written in another era. In time, he handed the writing back to his grandson, saying, "My child, this was a learned man, and a lover of his country."
Yep, that's that.
Well, he didn't want to kill him. He was basically forced to prescribe him. And again, if you're the junior partner, you have little to no say because you're the young one. So basically, wow, he had to prescribe the guy who he loved.
Yep.
That's pretty depressing.
All right. This is where we're going to call it for today. This has been fun.
It is fun, but we have a special treat for you.
Yeah, you'll see in a moment.
Yes. Until then, this has been the Swine Brothers Show, episode 204, the last episode in the Sumlin house. You can email us at cosmicgodsdie@gmail.com. Facebook is SwineBros666 and Twitter SwineBros666. Also, like, comment, subscribe, and share.
Share the fuck out of it. We suck at promotion.
For Jim, I have been Elliot. See you next year.